Announced by now. This has been now being told by the sources to us, and that's the latest update we have right now. And we've seen that he has also met counterparts from Russia on the sidelines of the BRICS summit, of course. But he's held meetings, he's held separate talks with Russian counterpart earlier. Aniseh Doval also, of course, from defense to trade, to defense and strategic partnership was on the table, was discussed as per our sources when he was in Moscow. And he invited Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. The Prime Minister also spoke to Vladimir Putin and welcoming him in India. And then we have the Foreign Affairs Minister, we have External Affairs Minister Chandrakala joins us from more. Chandrakala, tell us more details about this meeting between Sergei Lavrov and Jaishankar.
Well, yes, of course, Rakshita, External Affairs Minister is scheduled to visit Moscow to meet the Russian Foreign Minister. The meet is scheduled for August 21st. Of course, this meet comes after Aniseh Doval's meeting in Moscow, and there are a lot of such important issues that are to be discussed during this meeting. Of course, the tariff would be one such issue, and energy and security will be one such issues. And this particular visit comes at a very crucial time when a lot of such geopolitical developments are underway. And we have seen the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval was in Moscow, and now External Affairs Minister Jaishankar will be visiting Russia. He'll be meeting the Foreign Minister and other Russian officials, and the meeting is slated to take place on August 21st. And several other issues, including the tariff. As we know, that Russian president is also slated to visit India anytime soon. Over to you. Yes, it's a very, very crucial visit.
Indeed it is, and this comes in the backdrop of what's been happening between America and India. Of course, we've seen that the leadership in New Delhi has also been very, very much, very much stern in their messaging that has been going across. Without, of course, taking names, we've seen that India will do whatever suits its own interests, and even if the proximity to Russia irks any other country, it really is not. It really doesn't affect New Delhi, and that has the record that has been set by the leadership. The intent has been made very, very clear. And now, of course, White House, Chandrakala, will be having its eyes on this meeting also.
Yes, Rakshita rightly pointed out is that, of course, President Trump is also likely to meet Russian President Putin anytime soon, and the White House has made it clear that the meeting will be taking place on Friday, this Friday. So yes, External Affairs Minister's visit to Moscow, and of course Trump meeting President Putin on the particular issues as far as the Ukraine conflict is concerned, and also tariff is one such agenda which will be discussed when all these important meetings are concerned. So yes, these meetings are coming at a very, very crucial time when countries, all the major powers are staring at Trump's tariff. Of course, Russia has made it clear, no matter what our relations with.
Thank you very much for being here this afternoon. Thank you. A lot has happened in the course of the last 3 editions of the Nationalist Collective. Operation Sindoor has happened, and we have had the one-sided declaration of a trade war by Donald Trump. And today is a great occasion. When we have the 3rd edition of the Nationalist Collective, people will be looking forward to the various conversations that we have on stage to give some direction to how India should shape the outcome out of whatever we are facing today. Some people say that these are not crises, these are opportunities. I also think so, because I believe this is the transition of India from being a middle power to being a great power. We are rising unapologetically. We are rising decisively. If you look at our economic performance over the last 4 months, it tells you a different story of overtaking Japan, becoming the third largest economy in the world, already in effective terms, in purchasing power parity terms, growing in terms of reducing income inequality. We have, when the world has high inflation, we have yesterday had the lowest rates of inflation which have been announced. And so there's a great effort towards taking India towards its eventual destiny. Today's conversations are shaped by decision makers. We are very privileged to have a Lieutenant General among us who has headed the strike corps and is now at the highest echelons. And today I'm very grateful to the Indian Army, sir, and to the Chief of Army Staff who I met a month back, that he has sent you to represent the Indian Army at this event. We're grateful to you, sir. We also have with us many other speakers. I'm not mentioning all, but we have Sanjeev Sanyal, who's an advisor to the Prime Minister on economics. So we will get both a strategic and an economic perspective. The only takeaway that I would like this event to have is that as nationalists, we must also be realistic about the challenges that we face. We don't want to be an India that waits for others. We want to be an India that sets the tone. Is it possible, given everything that we are going through, is it possible for India to rewrite the global script? How will we compete in a changing world where suddenly, if you think last 6 months, what has happened is this relative insulation. We thought that we will get 3 to 4 to 5 years till we catch up with the rest of the world, and then we will talk to the rest of the world on our own terms. Operation Sindoor has taught us that the world does not wait for you. Challenges come, your enemies are ever there, and you have to be ever vigilant. We will not get 4 to 5 years to prepare. Neither will our economy get 4 to 5 years to become more resilient and strong. As they say in Sanskrit, Subhashya Shighram, whatever you have to do today. So this edition of the Nationalist Collective should have the same spirit of Subhashya Shighram. What is it that we can do today? Not what it is that we need to do 5 years from now. We have inspirational speakers. We have great nationalists. And I request all the speakers to come together and contribute towards that discussion, so that everybody who is watching today's event at home, here, on streaming, or anywhere in the world knows that there is an intent to change things and to change things fast. So if I was to ask to wrap up, what would be the theme of today's event? It should be Nationalist Collective Subhashya Shighram. Jo karna hai abhi karne ki zarurat hai, so that we can bring history closer to us rather than wait for history to be rewritten by us one day. And I wish you all the best. I will be hooked today at today's event, because these will be deep and important conversations. Nationalist Collective has grown. Now we have members of Nationalist Collective coming to our channel, coming as speakers. I recently had a young boy, I think he was 18 or 19 years old, and he was from Mumbai, and he said, I'm a Nationalist Collective member. He came on my show, and I can tell you one thing, the systematic way in which he hammered the Pakistanis on my program, on a live program. He had a Pakistani retired general, Pakistani policy makers, economists on the other side, and he was cool and calm. Similarly, in another event where we opened up the lines, we had a member of the Nationalist Collective from Mumbai, and he started reeling figures about the comparison between Pakistan's economy and India's economy. And I asked him at the end of it, I asked him, sir, if you don't mind, I ask you, what do you do? Because the Pakistanis had no response to this person. I thought he's a highly trained economist like my friend Sanjeev Sanyal. He said, Arnab, I work in real estate in Bangalore. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I am in real estate, but I am a member of Nationalist Collective, and everything I'm doing is going to make India a 5 trillion economy and a 10 trillion economy very soon. So I felt so proud that we have been able to give a platform to these people, so that they are not just working in the intersections of what their daily work is, but they have a larger cause. And that is what Nationalist Collective is all about. Something larger that we do beyond our work. If today a student in Mumbai and a real estate professional in Bengaluru have been inspired for the cause, and so have all of you to come on this sweltering afternoon to be with us, then I think we are on the right track. Thank you very much, and best of luck to the 3rd edition of the Nationalist Collective. Thank you.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपके विचार आगे तक जाएंगे और जैसा हम कह रहे हैं कि राष्ट्रवादी समूह है, राष्ट्रवादी अलग हम लोग जगा रहे हैं और ये दूर तक जाए, यही हमारी एक कोशिश है। तो आज के हम पहले सेशन की तरफ बढ़ेंगे और आज हम एक ऐसे सत्र की ओर बढ़ रहे हैं जिसमें बात होगी दुनिया की बदलती राजनीति की, इतिहास से मिलने वाले अहम सबक की। हमारे साथ हैं एक प्रतिष्ठित अर्थशास्त्री, इतिहासकार और नीति विशेषज्ञ। प्लीज वेलकम मिस्टर संजीव सान्याल, member of Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, presenting World Order Influx Lessons from History. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Big congratulations to Republic TV for putting together the Nationalist Collective. And I'm going to speak here today about a topic which is on top of your minds, which is, of course, the major churn, geopolitical churn that the world is going through. We are witnessing one of those moments in history when the world order basically resets. These are turbulent times. Now, of course, I have to be a little careful about what I say here because I am a policymaker and I'm dealing with a live situation. So I requested my friend Arnab to allow me to wear my hat as a historian, because you see, we are a very ancient civilization. And in this very long history, we have not only witnessed but participated in many periods of geopolitical shifts. And so there are many interesting lessons that we can bring to bear over these many thousands of years of history. And I'm going to use 2 episodes to illustrate this issue. So the first issue, or rather first episode that I'm going to deal with, relates to something that happened exactly 1,000 years ago. In the year 1025, when, as some of you may be aware, the great king Rajendra Chola did a raid on Southeast Asia. So this was a major naval raid, a major geopolitical event of that time. And I will first get you to understand what were the circumstances in which it happened, and 2, what are the lessons we can draw from it. And then I will go on to the other episode. So let me take you back 1,000 years ago. What was going on? What did the world look like 1,000 years ago? So 1,000 years ago, the world economy basically was about trade between 3 major nodes. One of them was in the Eastern Mediterranean, the Fatimid Empire out of Egypt. The second was India, which was the southern India was at that time dominated by the Chola Empire. And the third was China, ruled over by the Song Empire. And these 3 nodes were trading each other heavily, particularly through the maritime route. Now, it is important to note here that we are all very proud about India being, at that time, something like a third of the world economy. But you have to understand that this wasn't only about the domestic economy. It happened because we Indians dominated world trade. And how did we do it? It wasn't about, individual heroic merchants sailing out into the horizon. It was actually done by large guilds, merchant and artisan guilds, which were not dissimilar to multinational companies. We even know their names. For example, one of them was called Mani Gramam. Another was called the 500. Why 500? I presume because they had 500 shareholders. So it was like a modern corporation. And these were not small bodies. They had sort of operations across the world. For example, the 500 had major operations in Southeast Asia. They had their own navy because there were obviously pirates everywhere. Indeed, some of these big multinational merchant guilds were so powerful that they survived through many dynasties. So dynasties would come and go, empires would come and go, but these massive merchant guilds would continue. And these merchant guilds were financed by a very sophisticated financial system, interestingly run out of the temples. So in case you have ever wondered why is it that Hindu temples in the medieval period had so much gold, it was not because the kings of that time were handing over their gold to the temples. Let me assure you that Indian politicians of all eras are always very reluctant to hand over their money to anyone. So even at that time, it was true. The reason Indian temples, Hindu temples, had so much money was because they functioned as banks and venture capitalists who were financing these merchant and artisan guilds to build out this massive merchant, what I would call an export-led model of growth. So this was what allowed this domination of this global economic system. Now, a series of events in the early 11th century threatened this. So what happened is, you have to know that a lot of this trade was happening between India through Southeast Asia to China, Korea, Japan, and so on. And this happened through two routes. There was one route which went through the Malacca Straits, which is between Sumatra and the Malay Peninsula, which was usually controlled by the Srivijaya kings of Sumatra. And the other route was through the Sunda Strait, which is between Sumatra and Java, which was usually controlled by the Javans. So these were the two routes through which the Cholas were trading with the Song and other kingdoms of that part of the world. Now what happened is that the Sumatrans were under tremendous pressure from the Javans, and at that one point, a series of battles, the kings of Java basically defeated the Srivijayas. So the Srivijaya went running to the Chinese for help. And the Chinese decided to provide them with a great deal of support. So the reason I'm telling you this is that Chinese geopolitical projection is not a new thing. It was happening 1,000 years ago. And it is with the help of Chinese support that the Srivijaya managed to not only defeat the Javans, but take control of the Sunda Strait as well. So now you had a situation where the same power controlled both the Malacca Straits and the Sunda Straits. And of course, they did what all monopolists do. They dramatically jacked up the tariffs for passing through those straits. Now, this is something that was against the economic interests of the Cholas. So what they did is they sent a warning in 1017, a small raid, to warn the Sumatrans that, look, we are not happy about the situation. But the Srivijaya ignored it. In fact, worse, they projected to the Song emperor that the Cholas were their vassals. I'm sure this information managed to wake it back to Rajendra Chola. So exactly 1,000 years ago, in 1025, Rajendra Chola decided to make a naval raid. Now, there is no evidence that Rajendra Chola had a large standing navy. So it is almost certain that most of the navy that he used were actually the navy of these merchant guilds I talked about earlier, of the Manigramam and of the 500. And so a large naval force was put together. It set sail from Nagapatnam, which is still a major port today. And from Nagapatnam, they made their way across the Bay of Bengal to Sumatra, and then along the western coast to the Sunda Strait, where they probably refueled with their Javan allies. And having got refueled, they made their way up the Malacca Strait, sacking all the ports of the Srivijaya, and finally landing in Kadaram, what is modern Kedah in Malaysia. They destroyed the army of the Srivijaya completely. And then they made their way back past Nicobar, back to base. This was a major event, as you can imagine, and as a result of which the trade routes opened. And a few years later, we have a record of a joint embassy by the Cholas with the Srivijaya, where presumably they basically came to some agreement with the Song emperor. It is worth noting here also that the Chinese actually did absolutely nothing to help their Srivijayan vassals. Now, what is the lesson about this whole episode? What can we learn from this major event in our history? First of all, very important to remember that there is actually no difference between economic power and military power. Hard power matters. You can have all the soft power you want, but hard economic power and hard military power are needed, and they are joined in the hip. They're actually the same thing. You cannot have one without the other. It's meaningless to have one without the other. So this is something that our ancestors knew. We are all proud of ancient India, and for some reason we have been somehow given to believe that India was some sort of a uniquely pacifist country. That is not the case. While we may not have gone and colonized other countries through actual occupation, we did culturally colonize other places, but not through actual occupation. We were not above protecting our economic interests by the sword when necessary. The second important thing is, even with your geopolitical rivals, you can enter into an understanding when you have economic interests which you may share. For example, it is very likely that the Song emperors were just as unhappy about the tariffs that they were being imposed by the Srivijaya. Or at the very least, they understood the Indian interests and allowed us to do what we want to do, even to their own vassal. So whenever we are thinking of the Chinese, do remember that, yes, they have their interests, so do we. And if it suits them, and indeed if we push hard enough, it suits us, we will be able to pursue our interests. But we have to be very clear what those interests are and to be willing to back it with both economic and military hard power. So this is the first episode that I wanted to tell you about. Now, this economic system that I described, unfortunately fell apart in the early 13th century. All these three nodes of economic hub that I talked about were essentially sacked by raiders from the Central Asia. China's Song Empire was destroyed by the Mongols. India itself was sacked by the Turks. And of course, the Middle East was an absolute upheaval because of also the Mongols, who sacked Baghdad and other places. The temples, which were the backbone of our financial system, were sacked. So people tend to only think of this in cultural and religious terms, but do remember that it was an absolute economic disaster as well, because the financial basis of our Indian economic power was also destroyed. Notice that many of our big temples are all along the coastline. Where is Somnath? It is on the coast. Where is Konark? It's on the coast. These were all temples which were related to the port activities of those areas. So we went into decline. Now, a couple of more centuries passed, and what happened is that in many of these places, new powers came back. These Central Asian hordes were either pushed back or at least put in control. So, for example, the Mongols were finally defeated by the Ming, and the Ming emperor rose and became a major power in China. In the Middle East, the Mongols were overthrown by the Safavids. So in Iran, and so the Middle East also came back. In India, although northern India continued to be under the control of the Central Asian invaders, at least much of southern India came to be under the control of another great empire called the Vijayanagar. Now, in this situation, it's quite interesting what the Chinese did. Remember, the Chinese, just like today, they were very conscious that they had come back from a period of decline. So what they did is, they wanted to also project power. Just like today they want to project power, the Ming emperors also wanted to project power. So they built a huge navy. This navy was led by a very unlikely leader, an admiral who was a eunuch actually, called Admiral Zheng He. And Admiral Zheng He led these magnificent expeditions into the Indian Ocean. The ships he used were massive. They were massive even by modern standards. And in each one of these expeditions, he had between 20 to 25,000 sailors and soldiers and merchants on these expeditions. So these were huge expeditions by modern standards. The technology they were using at that time was almost a century ahead of what the Europeans were using. So the ships were huge, the technology was huge, and there was no doubt at that time that the Chinese were far in advance of anybody of that time. And using these ships, Admiral Zheng He came to the Indian Ocean. And he sailed all over the Indian Ocean. He came to, he went to Indonesia, where of course the main rival to the Chinese were the Hindu empire of the Majapahit, which was a Hindu empire of what is now Indonesia. He came to Sri Lanka, he came to India, he went to Africa and to Arabia. Now it is important, while he was trading, it is important to remember that this was primarily a projection of power, because do remember that these are not voyages of exploration. Indians, or indeed even the Chinese, had been sailing these waters for hundreds of years before that. So what they were really doing was signaling that, look, yes, we were conquered by the Mongols, but China is back. That is what they were signaling, and they made repeated voyages. Indeed, they did a lot of geopolitical maneuvering also in the Indian Ocean. So for example, they tried to change the king of Sri Lanka and put their own candidate there. Since they were suspicious of the Hindu Majapahit empire in Indonesia, they actually backed an Islamic kingdom in Malacca. So they encouraged the local king of Malacca to convert to Islam, and then they backed it to fight against the Majapahit. So you can see the Chinese have been in this area doing their thing for a very long time. And this is what Admiral Zheng He as well did. And he made repeated voyages. So if around about the 1435 or so, you had asked anybody, you know, some part of the world is going to dominate the world, can you guess who that's going to be? They were almost always, everybody was going to say China, not Europe. They were all going to say China. They were ahead technologically. They were already geopolitically powerful. They had taken over large parts of the world's oceans. So, you know, everybody would have said, you know, next few centuries belongs to China. But then something very interesting happened. You see, the Ming emperor died, and a new Ming emperor came to the throne. And this new emperor had been brought to the throne because of the support of the Confucian mandarins, which is the bureaucrats. And the Confucian mandarins were suspicious of their rivals in court, who were the eunuchs, like Admiral Zheng He. So they did what all good bureaucrats do. They switched off the money. They must have made the procurement process very, very complicated, as you can imagine. Simple way to shut down the military. And in fact, the Chinese Navy was never defeated in war. All that happened was that it rotted. It literally rotted in the port. And the records of these great voyages of Zheng He were completely suppressed. In fact, they did such a good job of it that it's only in the 20th century, late 20th century, that we have now begun to discover the importance of these great voyages of Zheng He. So, there was no sudden collapse of Chinese power. It slowly faded away. Chinese support, of course, continued to various vassals in the Indian Ocean. For example, Malacca fought against the Majapahit, pushed them back and back, till the last of the Majapahit withdrew to Bali, where they continued to remain Hindu. But the rest of Indonesia basically over time became Islamic. As I said, the Islamization of Southeast Asia was a Chinese geopolitical project. Not many people know this. In other parts of the Indian Ocean, the withdrawal of the Chinese led to a vacuum. And into this vacuum, a new power turned up, the Portuguese. So this is the environment in which Vasco da Gama turned up with just 3 ships. Now, in case you wondered, how is it that this small power, Portugal, which was not even a major power in Europe, turns up in the Indian Ocean and basically takes it over within a decade or two? The reason it was able to do this is because the Chinese had been there before them. They had knocked out all their rivals and then just walked off, leaving a vacuum which the Europeans just happened to fill up. So this leads us to some of the great lessons of history. What are those lessons? First of all, be very wary of bureaucrats. As you can see, that you can have all the geopolitical ambitions in the world, but it's your internal politics that will do you in. And this is what happened to the Chinese. I'm not just including the bureaucrats, I meant that facetiously, of course, but your internal dynamics matters a lot more than you think, even if you happen to be a great power. So today's great powers, whatever that's happening to them, is driven largely by their own. They don't have to be necessarily defeated in war. It is their own dynamics which will lead to their downfall. Second, it has a very important lesson to India. Remember that between the decline of the Chinese and the coming of the Portuguese, there were several decades empty. Now, why is it that the Vijayanagar Empire, the Indians, did not fill it out? This was, after all, an empty space. The Vijayanagar Empire was a very prosperous empire with a long coastline, and indeed very much aware of benefits of coastal trade, because its own wealth was based on maritime trade. And yet the Vijayanagar emperors made no real attempt to create a big navy or project power. Look at the change in attitude between Rajendra Chola and Vijayanagar Empire. Now, the Vijayanagar was a great empire indeed, but it did not lead to a re-establishment of Indian economic, military or civilization power. It was at best a holding job. They were holding on, but it didn't help. Retreating behind the walls never helps. That's what the Chinese discovered. Having the Great Wall of China hadn't helped them against the Mongols, and it didn't help them later on against the Manchurians. And for us to have decided that we were not going to project power in the maritime space and remain at home did not mean that we were left alone. Far from it, the Europeans turned up, and the next colonization of India actually happened from the sea. So this has, again, a very important lesson to us today, that we have to engage with the world. Just because we want to hide behind the walls does not mean that the rest of the world is going to leave us alone. So to be a great power, to revive as a civilization, we cannot think of it in terms of purely being domestically oriented. We have to engage with the world. It has to be done by an outward orientation, because no matter what you say, the rest of the world is going to carry on. You may not have an interest in them, but they have an interest in you. So these are the two big episodes of Indian history that I gave you. There are many others that I could talk about, but the point I was trying to get to, now coming back to the present, is this. We now face a peculiar period in world history where clearly the old order is breaking down and a new order is appearing. We are an emerging power. We want to be a great power, but we are not there yet. And we are in an environment where there is not only rivalry between the two large existing powers, but they also look on us with some degree of suspicion. So this is an environment which we have to deal with, but we need to deal with it with the following principles in mind. First of all, we cannot compartmentalize different fields of power. We have to not just have an all-of-government approach, we have to have an all-of-nation approach. We cannot separate out military power from economic power. We cannot separate out the government and public sector from private sector. All of these things are intertwined. Whatever our internal differences may be, when we are dealing with the world, we have to be on the same side. Because the people with whom we are dealing with are going to come to the table being united on their side in their own way. Secondly, world power and dynamics of world power are extremely unpredictable. Do not bother to try and predict it. After all, nobody could have guessed circa 1450 that it was not the Chinese but the Portuguese who would come to dominate the Indian Ocean. Not possible to have predicted it. Similarly, it is not possible for us to predict exactly how things will pan out from here on, either with President Trump or with President Xi or with many other people around us, not to mention random shocks like COVID that could happen. What we need to do is to be internally resilient and have policies that are flexible to deal with the situation as it appears. We tend to get very disappointed every time things do not quite pan out the way we may have planned. But in fact, it should be entirely surprising if it does pan out the way you planned it, because the world is uncertain. It's an unstable place by definition. So the game is not to have grand plans, but to invest into your own strength, and very importantly, be willing to act opportunistically when the opportunity arises. So you have to be willing to go in there and do it. And finally, when we say Atmanirbhar Bharat, or we say Swadeshi, we should not confuse it with some 1950s view of import substitution and looking inward. Of course, we should build on our own strength, but it has to be an outward-oriented approach. We need to go out there and capture export markets. We need to go out there and build geopolitical linkages. And we need to be willing to use these for pursuing national interest. With that, let me stop. Jai Hind.
Army has neutralized 2 Pakistani terrorists in North Kashmir's Uri in an ongoing encounter. 1 soldier has also lost his life in the line of action.
आप पानी बंद करने की धमकी देते हो तो ये बात ज़हन में रखना कि पाकिस्तान की एक बूंद भी तुम पाकिस्तान से छीन नहीं सकते। उस खुदाए बुजुर्गों बरतर की कसम है कि अगर तुमने ये हरकत की तो दोबारा तुम्हें वो सबक सिखाएंगे कि तुम कानों को हाथ लगाओगे।
After Asim Munir and Bilawal Bhutto, now Shehbaz Sharif joins Pakistan's empty threat parade. Amid Trump's tariff bullying, EM Jaishankar to travel to Moscow next week to meet Russian counterpart Lavrov.
ये जो फर्जी वोट अगर बनते हैं तो उसकी सफाई हो, सच्चे भारतीयों को, पक्के नागरिकों को वोट का अधिकार उनका ना छिने, लेकिन जो घुसपैठिए हैं, जो फर्जी वोट बना है, उनके वोट को खत्म किया जाए तो उसका विरोध कांग्रेस पार्टी करती है।
Political face-off heats up over EC's SIR exercise. BJP says Rahul and India alliance indulging in infiltrator vote bank politics.
केएन रजन्ना ने कि भाई हमारी सरकार थी 2024 में कर्नाटक में कांग्रेस, जब ये वोटर लिस्ट बनी तब आप आंखें मूंद करके बैठे थे, हाथ पे हाथ धर के बैठे थे, तब क्यों नहीं बोले? कांग्रेस ने उनको नोटिस तो छोड़िए, उनको बर्खास्त करने का सीधा आदेश राहुल गांधी जी ने दिया। कांग्रेस में आंतरिक लोकतंत्र खत्म हो चुका है।
BJP MP Anurag Thakur questions K.N. Rajana's dismissal from Karnataka cabinet, says internal politics is dead in Congress party. DGCA issues warning letter to Air India over safety violations. Air India faces enforcement action. First up, a massive fire broke out on the 4th floor of a flat in a 5-story global home building located in Sector 73 of Noida. The cause of the fire remains unclear, but fire department teams have rushed to the scene shortly after receiving the alert. The fire department is currently working to extinguish the flames. The incident was reported in the Sarfabad area under the jurisdiction of Sector 113 police station. Authorities are now investigating the situation and ensuring the safety of residents. These are pictures coming in from that very residential building where a major fire broke out on the 4th floor. And there you can see fire fighting operations are currently underway. The police and the fire department officials are Working on a war footing to douse these flames, you can see thick black plumes of smoke also emanating from this particular flat that went up in flames. The cause for the fire is yet to be ascertained, but the priority is to ensure the safety of the residents and also to douse the flames. Now, the cause of the fire, viewers, remains unclear, but the fire department teams have rushed to the scene shortly after receiving the alert, and they are currently working to extinguish the flames. The incident was reported in Sarfabad area under Sector 113 police station limits. And what we understand is that the situation remains grim, and there have been no casualties reported so far. All the residents and occupants of this particular flat have been safely evacuated from this fourth-story flat. And this is the dramatic pictures of thick black smoke currently billowing from this particular flat, which went up in flames just a short while back. And firefighting operations are currently underway, viewers. Let's now move on to more breaking news that we are tracking. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is all set to travel to Russia next week to hold talks with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov. And this comes even as Donald Trump wages a tariff war against India. Back-to-back tariffs announced by Donald Trump. And now, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will be traveling to Moscow on August 20th and 21st. And during his visit, he will be holding talks with Lavrov. And this comes just after a week when NSA Ajit Doval was also present in Moscow to further the bilateral relations between both the nations, Russia and India. And now, just after NSA Doval's visit, it is External Affairs Minister who will be arriving in Moscow on August 20th. And upon his arrival, he will be holding crucial talks with his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov. And all eyes will be on this engagement, which comes amid tariff tensions with Washington, D.C. Chandrakala is joining us live. Chandrakala, help us understand the significance of External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar's visit to Russia at a time when Donald Trump is slapping back-to-back tariffs on New Delhi.
Yes, right, Deepak. A very, very significant visit that is scheduled to take place this month. Of course, after NSA Doval was in Moscow, now External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar will be in Moscow, and he'll be meeting his Russian counterpart, of course, and then on August 21st. And all the issues relating to tariffs will be one of the key discussion during this visit. And of course, we have seen over the years and over the recent weeks, we have seen that India and Russia have talked up their strategic partnership, especially after US President Donald Trump's tariff threat to India. And NSA Doval has made it clear that our relationship is strategic relationship, and he has also stated while his visit to Moscow that President Putin will also be coming to India anytime soon, and the date has been. We are awaiting his this particular visit to India. President Putin will be also visiting India. So yes, very, very crucial geopolitical development as far as the tariff is concerned. And as Russia has made it clear that our relationship with India stands strong, and this particular visit also signifies that amid US tariff, our relationship goes stronger. The India-US relationship goes stronger, and we know that the defense relationship between India and Russia is anyways very stronger. And this particular visit is to bolster the relationship. And External Affairs Minister will also be meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin. Just to let you know that this particular visit also comes at a time when White House has confirmed that U.S. President Donald Trump will be meeting Russian President Putin on Friday in Alaska, as far as the Ukraine conflict is concerned and also the tariff threat is concerned. So yes, very crucial visit that we are looking forward to. There will be a lot of discussions to be be taking place. And as we know that Kremlin has published a video last week where we saw NSA Oval shaking hands with President Putin. Of course, a very crucial meeting is currently taking place. A lot of bilaterals are happening, and also President Putin will also be visiting India. So yes, a very crucial development as far as the geopolitical development is concerned. And also comes at a time when tariff is something which is being discussed by the entire international community. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been in terms, talking terms with the Ukrainian president as well. He also had a phone call with Russian President Putin. So yes, External Affairs Minister to visit to Russia is something which is very crucial right at this moment as far as US President's tariff on India is concerned on import of Russian oil. Over to you.
That's right, Chandrakala. Even as Donald Trump goes rogue with back-to-back tariffs, this particular visit of External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to Moscow will certainly raise eyebrows in Washington, D.C. So all eyes will be on that visit. But let's shift our focus to Karnataka, where pro-Hindu activists and BJP supporters and devotees of Dharmasthala are staging massive protests across multiple districts condemning alleged derogatory remarks and misinformation against the sacred temple town. In Chikamagaluru, over 2,000 devotees from various parts of the district took out a 2-kilometer protest march from the Taluk office to Azad Park, and they've also sang devotional hymns and beating drums. Hundreds of women participated, condemning what they called a conspiracy to malign the image of Dharmasthala. This is a massive demonstration that is being taken out by Hindu groups and also BJP supporters against the masked man's claims that there are mass graves in Dharmasthala. Nagendra Babu is also joining us. Nagendra Babu, now a protest march has also been witnessed in Chikamagaluru, and meanwhile we also have BJP MLA is also coming out and saying that there is nothing to be found in Dharmasthala. This is nothing but a campaign to malign Dharmasthala's image.
यस दीपक, देखिए लगभग ये हफ्ता पूरा स्टेट वाइड प्रोटेस्ट चल रहा है वो धर्मस्थला क्षेत्र को थोड़ा लोग उसको नाम खराब करने के लिए ये लोग ऐसा प्लानिंग करके उसके ऊपर एलिगेशन कर रहे हैं बोल के वो लोग प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं। देखिए एक साइड में स्टेट वाइड एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट में हर एक दिन 3-3, 4-4 डिस्ट्रिक्ट में प्रोटेस्ट तो चल रहा है। आज भी प्रोटेस्ट तो चल रहा है, बीजेपी एमएलए लोग भी आके सामने आके प्रोटेस्ट भी कर रहे हैं। लेकिन उसके बाद एसआईटी ऑफिसर्स ऑलरेडी रिपोर्ट को रेडी करके चुका है। वो रिपोर्ट को मतलब इंटरम रिपोर्ट को गवर्नमेंट को देने के लिए पूरा तैयार करके गया है। आज देखिए एसआईटी मुख्यस्थ प्रणब मोहंती आज उसका रिपोर्ट लेके गए ऑलरेडी। लगभग होम मिनिस्टर को वो आज मीट करके उसका हाथ में ये इंटरम रिपोर्ट को देने के लिए वो पूरा तैयारी किया है। और एक 13th पॉइंट में आज भी एक्सकवेशन काम चल रहा है। देखिए 10 फीट तक गया, उधर पानी मिल चुका है, इसलिए वो लोग ने उधर एक्सकवेशन करने के लिए थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम हो रहा था, इसलिए वो लंच ब्रेक लिया है। फिर उसके बाद फिर एक्सकवेशन करने के लिए वो लोग सोच रहे हैं। देखिए गवर्नमेंट के सामने ये मामला बहुत बड़ा मुश्किल में फंस रहा है, इसलिए गवर्नमेंट क्या इसका डिसीजन लेगा। एसआईटी का इन्वेस्टिगेशन आज ही वो क्लोज करेगा, नहीं उसको कंटिन्यू करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट फिर वो उसको ऑर्डर देता है, वो उसके लिए हम लोग वेट करना है। देखिए आज दक्षिण कन्नड़ डिस्ट्रिक्ट का इंचार्ज मिनिस्टर दिनेश गुंडूराव ऑलरेडी मीडिया को रिएक्शन दिया है। हम लोग इधर तक एसआईटी इन्वेस्टिगेशन में अभी तक कुछ भी नहीं मिला है, ये एलिगेशन पूरा गलत जैसा हम लोग लग रहा है, इसलिए इसके साथ कौन है, इसका पीछे कौन है, उसका भी हम लोग इन्वेस्टिगेशन करना जरूर है बोल के खुद इंचार्ज मिनिस्टर दिनेश गुंडूराव भी मीडिया को रिएक्शन दिया है। इसलिए थोड़ा एसआईटी लोग इन्वेस्टिगेशन को कंटिन्यू करता है कि इधर ही आज ही खत्म होने वाला है ये एक्सकवेशन का काम, नहीं तो इन्वेस्टिगेशन को चालू रखता है, वो भी हम लोग ने वेट करना पड़ता है। दीपक।
That's right, Nagendra Babu. Thank you for joining us with those details. Now shifting our focus to United States, where Khalistani extremists have desecrated a Hindu temple, marking the 4th such incident of this particular Baps Mandir in less than a year. Here's a quick report.
Khalistani extremists attacked a Hindu temple in Indiana's Greenwood in the United States, marking the fourth such desecration of the site in less than a year. According to the reports, the Khalistani extremists also sprayed the Hindu temple with anti-India graffiti. Tom Suozzi, member of the Congress representing New York's 3rd Congressional District, also highlighted the incident of hate and intolerance against the Hindu community.
Late Sunday night, vandals defaced the BAPS Sri Swaminarayan Mandir on Long Island with vile hate and bigotry against the Hindu community. I've seen Hindus many times, and many of you have as well, when they place their hands together and they bow and they say namaste. When they do that, they're recognizing the divinity in the person in front of them. They're showing their respect for the person in front of them. We really need to recognize that with all of our fellow human beings, that we're all special, made in God's image, and need to treat each other with more respect. What's happening that we see these acts of vandalism and bigotry and hate happening so often? Is it because of the inflammatory rhetoric we hear all the time? Is it because of the extremism? Is it because of the lack of accountability? What do we need to do to address this problem? Because hate is not the answer. Love is the answer. In the short term, we need to hold vandals and criminals and people who commit hate crimes accountable. We need law enforcement to work to apprehend these criminals, and we need prosecutors to prosecute them, to hold them accountable. Because people can't just say whatever they want, regardless of the impact it has on other human beings. And in the long term, we need to do a much better job educating people about the importance of love.
Viewers, moving on to more breaking news on the Asia Cup controversy. AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi has expressed strong reluctance to watch the upcoming cricket match between India and Pakistan. He said, and I quote, that it is difficult to support a game in which India is playing against a country that continues to pose threats to India's security. And we've also seen several statements of warmongering coming to the fore. Asim Munir, Bilawal Bhutto, now Shehbaz Sharif. And amidst all of this, the BCCI is going ahead with the India versus Pakistan Asia Cup clash. And AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi has expressed displeasure. Listen in.
नहीं, मैं तो क्रिकेट मैच नहीं देखने वाला हूं। मैं तो हरगिज नहीं देखने वाला हूं। मेरा ज़मीर, मेरा दिल गवारा नहीं करता कि मैं बैठकर उस मुल्क के लोगों के साथ हम क्रिकेट मैच खेलें जो हर रोज धमकी दे रहे हैं।
Good afternoon, everyone. A very proud and happy Independence Day to each one of you. It's an honor to be amongst all of you, and thanks, Mr. Arnab, for inviting me to represent the Indian Army over here. As our ancient civilization and a young nation celebrates its Independence Day today, Conclave is very apt, a day of reflection and renewed pledge for each one of us. I shall touch upon briefly on nationalism, nation building, and Indian Army's role. And I shall take on questions at the end of my talk. What is nationalism? From my perspective, it's a sense of pride in shared history, values, beliefs, struggles, rooted to an identified territory. Humankind lives on land, and land is the most cherished possession of mankind after his family and community. Shared history and shared struggles play a vital role in unifying a nation. Nationalism is a positive, attractive, and unifying force for good, and yet, if taken to extremes, could have negative fallouts and trigger counter forces. Forging a nation and instilling a deep sense of positive nationalism is a multi-generational project. Just like a garden, it has to be tended and nurtured with care and attention while being ever watchful and remaining open to course corrections. We have to be vigilant against efforts to divide and weaken from both within and without. India, that is Bharat, as Article 1 of our Constitution articulates, is astounding in its diversity as much as its unifying threads, which course through its body powerfully. The cultural osmosis and absorptive character of our nation is amazing. We are by nature inclusivist and embrace the concept of Vasudeva Kudumbakam, the world is one family. Mahatma Gandhi, writing in Young India, said, "I want India's rise so that the whole world may benefit. I do not want India to rise on the ruins of other nations." A nation state is a modern concept which came about in the 19th century and is the way the world is largely organized today. A nation state is a living, throbbing organism with destiny in its own hands. The people maketh a nation. As I was traveling around one of the cities a few months back, I saw a bus emblazoned with a big caption, Mera Hak. It made me pause and reflect on what is then Mera Fars. Both rights and duties go hand in hand in building the sinews of our nation. We require a strong sense of commitment, passion, discipline, altruism, and humility towards the cause of our nation. Here, I would like to highlight the role and potential of the National Cadet Corps, the NCC, in instilling a sense of national service, pride, discipline, character, and ethos amongst the youth who are our future. The government has taken an excellent step to increase the strength of NCC from the current 10 lakhs to approximately 17 lakhs, and has increased the enrollments into NCC from the border districts across the country. We must be even more ambitious. For a nation of our size and population, we could strive for 1 crore NCC cadets across all districts and tehsils. Symbols and narratives play a powerful role in nation building. They must be well thought out to unify and build our nation. The Tiranga Jhanda is a powerful and persuasive symbol, and so is the soulful Jana Gana Mana, our national anthem, and Bharat Mata Ki Jai. The International Yoga Day, celebrated across the country and the world, is yet another. Cricket and cinema are also fine examples in this regard. Our scientists, teachers, farmers, doctors and nurses, innovators, entrepreneurs, industrialists, community workers, athletes, para-athletes, and people from multiple walks of life from across the country give us so much hope and inspiration with their performance and unstinted commitment to the growth of our nation. Atmanirbhar, or self-reliance, is a clarion call for action to our nation and a national security imperative as well. Every citizen of our country, from every corner, must come to believe in the idea of our nation and have a solid stake in its progress and vitality. Now let me touch upon where I come from, that is the Indian Army, our nation's army, our people's army. The Indian Army is a microcosm of our nation. 1.5 million defense forces in a population of about 1.5 billion people, 1,000th of our total population. The Indian Defense Forces are a vibrant symbol of our nationalism and nationalistic spirit. soldiers and officers hail from all parts and corners of our country and society and come to share the same values and beliefs. They serve shoulder to shoulder in the air, on the sea, and on the land in the service of our nation in some of the toughest geographies and high-risk missions. We live, eat, fight, and play together. The apostle of non-violence, the Mahatma, was amongst the first to exhort the Indian Army to defend Jammu and Kashmir against the invaders. We are determined to defend our nation to the hilt should anyone dare cast an evil eye on us. Operation Sindoor is a fine example of this commitment. A whole of armed forces, a whole of defense, and a whole of nation approach with deep military-civil fusion is the way forward in exponentially strengthening the defense and security of our nation. Our role of defending the borders and safeguarding the territorial integrity of our nation has taken our troops and officers to the far corners and interiors of our country, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, Gujarat to Arunachal Pradesh, and to the island territories. This process creates a deep, abiding respect and appreciation of our nation's unity in diversity. And many of our veterans go on and back to their native roots and elsewhere to serve with the same spirit of commitment and nation building. The who's who of ultimate sacrifice etched in stone at our National War Memorial by a grateful nation is a testament to the spirit and unity of our country. For the defense personnel, our families, our regiments, and our nation form the bedrock of our strong support. Viksit Bharat and Viksit Sena symbolize the strength of our nation. On this Independence Day, our gratitude to our nation, our families, and more importantly, to our freedom fighters and their families for their sacrifices which made this day possible for each one of us. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Amity is proud to announce the commencement of its 12th university in India, Amity University, Hyderabad. At the prime location of AeroCity Hyderabad Airport, has a strong focus on high-end research with brilliant students and distinguished faculty who share our mission to change the world together. To apply for this year's session, visit amity.edu/Hyderabad.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला। MDH। थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा,
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
Ну, а чо ж тих два не пок...
The current American president president. He's traveled a very long and difficult path. There were hardships along the way on his way to the White House.
Ми захищаємо населення, щоб шахеди не залетіли нікому ні в хату, нічого від людей. Зараз на даний час дуже важко, тому що їх побільшало.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल ये रंग दे ये खुशबू दे ये तीखा ये कम पड़े क्या निराला MDH मसाला केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरी राजा
राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
In the contested waters of the South China Sea, a dramatic and deeply embarrassing incident unfolded involving Chinese and Philippine vessels. The Chinese Coast Guard vessel CCG-3104, originally a repurposed PLA Navy 056 class corvette, collided with the PLA Navy's guided missile destroyer Guilin during a high-speed maneuver intended to block Philippine Coast Guard ships. The collision occurred as the CCG-3104 aggressively pursued the Philippine vessel BRP Suluan, which was engaged in a routine resupply mission to support Filipino fishermen operating near Scarborough Shoal, a flashpoint in the ongoing territorial dispute. The CCG-3104, though technically a law enforcement vessel, is militarized and routinely deployed for monitoring, blocking, and intimidation missions. Guilin 164, a heavily armed warship, was present to reinforce China's presence and provide backup in case of escalation. On the Philippine side, BRP Suluan and PMP Suluan 4406 were conducting a peaceful humanitarian operation escorted by the Philippine Coast Guard to ensure safe passage and protection for local fishermen. The collision itself was severe. CCG-3104 sustained major structural damage to its bow, with video footage showing the front section of the vessel crumpled and debris floating in the surrounding waters. The impact raised immediate concerns about possible casualties.
Temple on 24th of January 2024. 22nd January 2024. This entire journey of Ram Temple, which started from the suit which was filed by Gopal Singh Visharad in 1950, till the judgment delivered by the Supreme Court on 9th of November 2019, is a message, is a reflection of our entire civilization. This is an entire battle of Ram Temple, which started from 1950, which lasted till 2019, is a message that how civilizational battles continue decades and decades, and after 20th generation, on 22nd of January 2024, we got a Ram Temple. So it's the issue of our glory. It's an issue that what is the message which we are giving to the global world. It's an issue that what is the message which we are giving to a geopolitical world. The message is that this country, our nation, in our nation, our ethos, our culture, our privilege is Bhagwan Ram, Lord Shiv, Lord Hanuman, Lord Krishna. And therefore, if you are trying to destroy the cultural heritage of this country through constitutional means, through legal means, we will fight and reclaim each and every temple without any you can say, without any violence, as well as through the pen. And this is a message which we want to give to the world, that pen is mightier than the sword. Now, a very interesting question arose when this entire issue of Ram Temple was going on, and why I am focusing in my today's talk about Ram Temple is because Ram Temple issue is an area where, if you will look into the history and 5 years back, or rather 10 years back, we were told that this can never be solved. We were told that Ram Temple is a dead issue and this can never be solved. It's better to build a hospital or a college there. And the questions were asked that what will you achieve, what will you gain if you will build a Ram Temple? And the similar questions are asked that what will you achieve and what will you gain when you will restore Gyan Vyapi or Krishna Janmabhoomi? So the issue is very, very relevant. So far, when we are conceiving the idea of India, when we are conceiving the idea of Bharat, when we are conceiving the idea of nation first. So Ram Temple, according to me, in my understanding, is a Rashtra temple. It's a temple for the entire nation. And the Maryada of Lord Ram, on which entire civilization is continuing, that has been re-established in November 2019 when the Supreme Court delivered its unanimous judgment. So a very interesting question arose during the hearing of the Supreme Court in Ram Temple case. And the issue was that the idols are not existing on the spot. The issue arose that there is no temple in the site in question. And at that point of time, my senior, Mr. Parasaran, and my senior, Mr. Harishankar Jain, they argued on first principles of Hindu law. And if you all would be well aware, there are 3 very authoritative books which are written on Hindu law. One by Mr. Gopal Chandra Shastri, the other is by Honorable Justice B.K. Mukherjee, as he then was a retired judge of the Supreme Court on Hindu law, as well as Mr. P.V. Karne has written Dharma Shastra in 7 volumes on Hindu law, and he has been awarded as Bharat Ratna for his work. In all these 3 books, there is a very precise, we can say, a justification and a very precise Shastric niyam, which has been formulated after years of studies. And the formulation is that even if you break the idol, even if you destroy the idol, the existence of the deity continues on the spot. The deity keeps on existing on the spot in the question in invisible form. So suppose an invader in the past, in the fervor of his ideas, destroyed a temple, destroyed an idol. But the question is that you can destroy the idol, you can destroy the temple, but you cannot destroy the existence of the deity, and the generations and generations will continue and say that this is the spot on which Ram Lalla was Virajman, and please restore us. And this Ram Temple, this entire journey is a message to the entire world that through constitutional means, through legal means, we can achieve what a civilization deserves. We all remember, we all know that when the debate was going on in Ram Temple case, how in 1528, an invader demolished our temple. What was the vow, what was the qasam which was taken by the invader Babar? And in that vow, he has demolished the temple. All those things which we all know. But the point, the legal issue which arose was that if the temple has been destroyed in the past, today, what are the means? How will we recover it? And therefore, a very interesting judgment was passed, and I think I can say it was a founding order which led to a final judgment in Ram Temple case, was passed by Justice Sudhir Narayan of Allahabad High Court in 2002, wherein he directed the ASI survey of Ram Temple. And I must clarify with lot of sense of responsibility today that आप जितने टीवी चैनल्स पर डिबेट सुनते होंगे, देखते होंगे, a very fake message is being propagated that there is no finding in the Ram Temple judgment. that there was a temple which was existing in the past. The Supreme Court very categorically, I'm saying, the Supreme Court in Ram Temple case on 2021 SCC page 1 in Ram Mandir judgment has categorically held that the structure which was existing was a non-Islamic structure. The structure which was existing. During the excavation, during the ASI survey, Lord Hanuman was found, Shivling was found, 14 Kasauti ke pillars were found, and so many things which were resonating, which were part of old Hindu sculptures, old Hindu architecture was found during the excavation. And let me also tell you, if you all recollect, that at that point of time, there was a lot of, you can say, resistance. Therefore, the pits which were dug at that point of time were very limited pits. But during this recent development of Ram Temple after 2019 judgment, more idols and more deities were recovered from the spot. So at that point of time, after having the complete ASI report, the Supreme Court has unanimously held that this entire structure which was existing was non-Islamic. By saying that it is non-Islamic, it meant that it is of other civilizations also, including the Hindus, Buddhists, and other civilizations. So just by saying that Ram Temple, there is no finding of the Supreme Court that no pre-existing temple was destroyed is absolutely wrong. There is a very categorical judgment on this point, and therefore, the Honorable Supreme Court on 9th of November 2019 granted this particular order. One very important portion of law also has been developed, and finally, which has, by virtue of Article 141 of the Constitution, it has attained finality. That is, that the existence of the deity continues, and Hindu deity is a juristic entity, and it has a right to sue and it can be sued. So these are very important portions of Ram Temple judgment which was delivered by the Supreme Court. And with the idea of nation first, with the idea of a civilization, I was, when I was having a conversation with my father, Sri Harishankar Jainji, that, and kindly see, this is such a beautiful issue which we all must understand as a civilization, that when Ram Temple was destroyed in 1528, was there any message given by our ancestors that you go and recover the temple? It's a smriti, it's a culture, it's a civilizational battle which continued for 20 generations. So many people sacrificed their lives. So many people sacrificed their lives for restoration of Ram Temple. So many people could not see the construction of Bhavya Ram Temple. But after 20th generation, we are the lucky ones, we are the fortunate ones, that though the sacrifice which our ancestors gave, today we are seeing a Bhavya Ram Temple which is existing at the site in question. And in the same manner, I understand that today in this conclave, we have a lot of intellectuals from the field of military, we have a lot of intellectuals from the field of geopolitical level, we have a lot of intellectuals from the field of academics. But kindly understand and appreciate that when we are talking about nation first, when we are talking about to build a nation, we must know that we cannot build a nation on the interest after sacrificing the interest of the majority community. Today in our nation, such laws have been enacted in the past where the interest of the majority community is at stake. For example, the Places of Worship Act 1991. For example, the Waqf Act 1995, which has been, as of now, stayed by the Honorable Supreme Court. The matter was heard in the Honorable Supreme Court in the month of May, and the judgment had to be delivered so far as the interim order was concerned, but till date, the judgment has not been delivered. So these are very important civilizational issues. And I am very shocked, and as an officer of the court, as well as a soldier of the Supreme Court, I feel a lot of pain when I see that in the Supreme Court, instead of having a large debate on these constitutional issues, one of our focus areas is that whether the retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court has vacated the bungalow, Today we are focusing on those issues. So Supreme Court is concerned, is known as a court of the constitution, is known for its constitutional verdicts. And today, after about 4 years in the Supreme Court, there is no stand which is taken on the Places of Worship Act. Today, after so many years of legal struggle, there is no stand which is taken on the Waqf Act 1995. And these are very important issues. Today, before the Supreme Court, the National Commission on Minority Act is under challenge, under question. Today, before the Supreme Court, the members of the majority community are saying that within our national framework, against the principles of the Constitution, a majority community is getting violated on the basic principles of law. That has to be heard. Today, before the Supreme Court, we are saying that the shivling which is existing in Gyan Vyapi, that is a shivling, that is a shivling, that is a shivling. It is not a fountain, it is not a fountain, it is not a fountain. We are asking, see, on 16th of May 2022, on Buddha Purnima, on Monday, we found the shivling. And at that point of time, immediately the Civil Judge Senior Division had sealed that area. And why I am raising this issue of shivling in Gyan Vyapi? Because this is the root of this entire civilization. We cannot imagine a nation without a Gyan Vyapi. We cannot imagine a nation without a Krishna Janmabhoomi. We cannot imagine a nation without Bhoshala. We cannot imagine a nation without our temples. We cannot imagine a nation without the Hindu civilization. This entire nation will not be a nation, will not be secular if Hindus are not in majority. This nation is only secular because Hindus are in majority. And that's why I'm raising this issue on this, before this August gathering, on the issue of Gyan Vyapi and the shivling. On 16th of May 2022, we found the shivling in the Gyan Vyapi. And it is not that we just said that it's a shivling. We confirmed it, we believed on our conviction, and we said it's a shivling. The Honorable Civil Judge Senior Division sealed that shivling on the same day, on 16th of May 2022. Therefore, the matter traveled to the Supreme Court directly. From the order of Civil Judge, directly the matter traveled to the Supreme Court. My Lord Honorable Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, as he then was, on first time in the Indian legal history, the order of Civil Judge Senior Division was subsumed in the order of the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that that area will be kept sealed. After that, we said that let the shivling be excavated without even touching it. There can be an ASI survey of the shivling. Therefore, we can know that whether it's a shivling or a fountain. The Allahabad High Court gave a landmark verdict so far as the ASI survey of the shivling area was concerned. And that judgment was ultimately stayed by the Supreme Court of 19th of May 2023. And till date, despite repeated requests, despite repeated applications, that issue of ASI survey of shivling is still stayed by the Supreme Court. So the question is that today we have punished Nupur. But the question is that the question which was raised at that point of time, and the entire country was in a debate that whether it's a shivling or a fountain, you must be shocked to know that which were the persons who approached the Supreme Court. It was a community which said that it's a fountain. They only approached the Supreme Court and got a stay over the judgment of the Allahabad High Court. If they were so much thorough with their research, and if they believed that what they are saying is a fountain, then there should have been an ASI survey of that area, that structure which we found on 16th of May 2022. And it's out of 12 Jyotirlings, 5 Jyotirlings are Swayambhu. And out of 5 Jyotirlings, the very first Jyotirling is Gyan Vyapi. And therefore, this is a root, and it is very, very necessary that we get it recovered. अभी recently, मैं अपनी फैमिली के साथ सोमनाथ टेम्पल गया था. अगर आप सब लोग सोमनाथ टेम्पल गए होंगे तो सोमनाथ टेम्पल में आपने देखा होगा that there is an arrow which says that यहाँ से लेके पृथ्वी के साउथ पोल तक एक कण भी नहीं है जमीन का. और ये 7 से
दादा
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता, उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ,
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
Amity is proud to announce the commencement of its 12th university in India.
Republic, nation first. In association with Gallant Nirman ka real hero.
Amity is proud to announce the commencement of its 12th university in India, Amity University, Hyderabad. At the prime location of AeroCity, Hyderabad Airport, has a strong focus on high-end research with brilliant students and distinguished faculty who share our mission to change the world together. To apply for this year's session, visit amity.edu/Hyderabad.
ड्रामा मतलब पेबो, स्वीटेस्ट मतलब लोलो, पार्टी मतलब जेलो और 10 मिनट्स मतलब बिग बास्केट।
येलो
10 minutes मतलब big basket, 10 minutes मतलब big basket.
Republic, nation first. In association with Gallant Nirman ka real
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता, उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ,
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला।
MDH.
Amity is proud to announce the commencement of its 12th university in India, Amity University, Hyderabad. At the prime location of AeroCity, Hyderabad Airport, has a strong focus on high-end research with brilliant students and distinguished faculty who share our mission to change the world together. To apply for this year's session, visit amity.edu/Hyderabad.
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मम्मा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरी राजा,
राजा आर प्योर मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
In the contested waters of the South China Sea, a dramatic and deeply embarrassing incident unfolded involving Chinese and Philippine vessels. The Chinese Coast Guard vessel CCG-3104, originally a repurposed PLA Navy 056 class corvette, collided with the PLA Navy's guided missile destroyer Guilin during a high-speed maneuver intended to block Philippine Coast Guard ships. The collision occurred as the CCG-3104 aggressively pursued the Philippine vessel BRP Suluan, which was engaged in a routine resupply mission to support Filipino fishermen operating near Scarborough Shoal, a flashpoint in the ongoing territorial dispute. The CCG-3104, though technically a law enforcement vessel, is
This is Republic Jack Volleyball Studio. Stay tuned for all the breaking news and updates. I'm Akanksha Khajuria. Let's get started.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर्नब मसाला।
Being a legend means reaching a point where no one else has. To give others a dream worth chasing. 10 years of Creta, legend forever.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल। ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े। क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
Ну, а чо ж тих два не пок...
The current American president, he's traveled a very long and difficult path. There were hardships along the way on his way to the White House.
Ми захищаємо населення, щоб шахеди не злетіли нікому ні в хату, нічого від людей. Зараз на даний час дуже важко, тому що їх побільшало.
Is given two things, lot of things to train on and lot of rest and nutrition. In the special forces, the last two things are taken off. So when you perform a job, when you perform a mission, there are no retakes, there are no second chances. You are inside a battle zone of your own. We were 2 squads. A squad is the smallest unit of a special forces unit, 6 guys. Trained in weapons, trained in explosives, trained in navigation. It's a self-contained fighting unit which can survive any onslaught. We were 2 squads deployed in South Kashmir. I'm not telling it, it's not a story, it's a reality which I tell you now. When you talk of brotherhood, when you talk of nationalist conclave, you must understand where I come from. How do you feel like losing the men? In South Kashmir, it was 2 decades back. I was a young lieutenant with 23 years of age and around 5-6 months of service. Till the time you're not blooded, till the time you have not killed a terrorist, you're not given the Special Forces badge in Special Forces. You need to earn it, and you need not earn it. My father was a Jammu and Kashmir Rifles officer. I volunteered for Special Forces. You don't get it as your parental claim. You need to earn that maroon after undergoing training. So coming back to the story. So we have 2 squads, one led by a junior commissioned officer and self in one squad. It was a generic input. Village happened to be someplace in South Kashmir. 2 decades back, it was raining fire in J&K. What you see now, it's still mellowed on. It's because of the security forces, what the situation we see is, it's still very normal, I would say. So we went for the operation, and what happened was that of that generic input, because we always operated in very few numbers, we went straight away to search the houses. There was no Rashtra Rifle support for us, there was nothing. One squad went under the JCO to one house, and I went to the other house. When I called out the house owner outside, he told me there are 2 terrorists inside. With those 6 men, whatever I could muster, I put the inner cordon and stops. We didn't have the luxury of inner or outer cordon or a lot of people, because Special Forces operate like that. It's not a traditional infantry unit with a lot of strength. So we did that thing, and if you see the demography or the pattern of layout of the village in J&K, you'll find especially in built-up areas, the houses are so close that even if you're trying to cordon one house, you need to cordon 3 houses. So with only 6 guys, we did that. When I was placing the scouts and came back to the position, I was behind a boundary wall where I was aiming for the windows or wherever the terrorists might come from. The terrorists opened the window and they fired indiscriminately. So there, a boundary wall in front of me, I retaliated with the fire. They jumped out of the window and approached me. I fired back. They turned their direction and went towards 5 meters away where my buddy was. Because my primary arc of weapon went towards his direction, I was supposed to stop the fire. I stopped it, but I could not see the response of my buddy firing back at him. In the meantime, the terrorists climbed that boundary wall because it was a small one, and then they vanished into the field behind, and then there was a river, and then I went on the spot and checked. My buddy was shot straight in the head. He was wearing a bulletproof patka. At that time, it was bulletproof patka. Now it is ballistic helmets. It was shot through the head, and 16 bullets were there. Even if he was wearing a BP plate, 16 bullets were there on his chest. He died on the spot. If you go back in a moment, this was the guy who I slept in the same sleeping bag. He made food for me, served the food for me. He was 21 years of age. I was 23. A month back, he had got married. And this man sacrificed his life that day. Imagine a person, 23 years of age, seeing all these things happen. That day, I wanted to burn half of that village down where this operation was happening. So what you need to understand is there are people who see extreme combat. And extreme combat is not at all glamorous. The most important thing it teaches you is compassion. I lost that guy. I've lost men on mountaintops. I've lost men in streets. I've lost men in alleys. It's not a punchline. I'm still telling you, because you must understand the person who gives his life for people who don't even know that people are existing over there, protecting themselves every single day, you must have gratitude towards life. You must have gratitude towards people who are doing this for you. As young people, now we deviate to the present scenario. As young people, you must have outlandish dreams. I wanted to join army only to join the special forces. There was no other thing I could think of. I wanted to see combat, I wanted to climb mountains, I wanted to jump from an aircraft. That is the way I wanted to lead my life. That was my goal in life. For you people, as nationalists and being patriotic, even if you're not in the forces, follow your dreams. Dreaming big is the key to your success. Don't think. And one more important thing on that is that it has to be your dream. It cannot be your father's dream, it cannot be your brother's dreams, it cannot be your friend's dream. I wanted to join special forces. In my house, I'm the fourth generation. All three prior to me, my great-grandfather served in the British Army, my grandfather served in the British Army, my father served in the Indian Army. All were infantarians, the people who walk. My two sisters, they both are married to army officers. They both are infantarians. And as a good father, my father told me never join the special forces because the rest of your life you will be climbing mountains only. The point I'm trying to bring is, I joined army for passion. For you, it is important to follow passion. It was not a job for me. The day I finished my command, I knew the rifle, the assault rifle which we hold as special forces, my direct contact with troops is gone. I was not going to do anything about that anymore. It was my time to call it quits. So kindly have dreams which are big enough. Again, the second point on this, we have talked about unabashed patriotism. It should run through your blood. It should not be on the eve of Independence Day or Republic Day. You need to breed it. Even if you're not in the forces, try and serve the nation in whatever you are doing. You are young. You are right now at the stage of your life where you must take chances. I took chances in life and joined the special forces. I want you to take chances and become an entrepreneur, not do a job. I will tell you what is the reason behind it. I am myself an entrepreneur. I had great aversion of taking orders in the army. I found it difficult to take orders. I found it difficult. That's just me. So when I left the army, I knew as a traditional veteran, people will join a resettlement course, go over there, do whatever courses, that is their job. I wanted to build a business. I ventured into entrepreneurship. One thing I would like to tell you about dreaming big is about setbacks and failures. Being from an army background, I failed my SSB twice. I cleared it in third attempt. I am the only officer of the Indian Army who has done 3 probations. And let me tell you one thing very categorically, 1 day of a special forces probation is equivalent to 1 year. I did it, first I failed, then I went to a unit, I did the probation, had my differences, come back, then I went to 7 para special forces, which I finally commanded. So when you dream big, there will be failures. You must take them in your life. Without extraordinary efforts, you will not achieve extraordinary results. So you need to slog. There is no book, there is no pamphlet, there is no précis in the army which tells you to kill a militant. There's no nothing. It just gives a SOP. This is how things are to be done. Operations are like this, 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 this. It is your buddy, it is your seniors who tell you that when you're going inside a room, might be the primary weapon fails, so your hand should automatically go to the secondary weapon. Where it is to be kept, how a shoelace has to be tied, he tells you, no book tells you that. So once you are growing in life, where I'm coming to is do community development, build. If you are a fourth year student, if you are a senior, empower your person who is in first year. It is your moral responsibility to give it back to the first generation. That is how countries grow. That is how economies grow. That is how you are supposed to give. Give it back. If I had so much of knowledge, being a special forces veteran, and I don't give it back to the next generation, we are losing and we are dividing a great thing which I learned in the army. Become entrepreneurs. Why I tell you, why I am on a mission to make 1 crore entrepreneurs. I will tell you my story. Failures in this also. I went to London for a close protection officer's course. That was the only transferable skills I could think I could gauge from my 20 years in the army, 18 and a half in the special forces. I went. I have not seen anybody going to London for a close protection. It's a niche course. I came back to India. There were special air service guys, there was Green Berets, there were Navy SEALs, there was whole lot of special forces guys doing that course. We did that course, came back to India. I did some work over there. Came back and opened my company of close and executive protection. In India, we loosely term as bodyguards. There's no bodyguards, there's no bouncers in the world market. In India, it's still an unorganized sector. So even if I have to stand as a close protection operative in place like London or something, I need a 3 weeks course. I need a license. In India, an ex-veteran will just have a weapon and he will come and stand by you. I'm telling you, this is the truth. Half of my special forces regiment does this. So when I came back, I opened that job. I opened that company. Because I could understand the nitty-gritties of how a close protection has to be done. It's a science in itself. I kept my prices high. Not even a single client I could get. Because normal people will pay 50,000, 40,000 for a close protection operative. I was charging 1.25 lakh. Lesson of the life. Either you will compromise on your quality or you will come back or you do what the norm is doing. Don't follow the norm. Try and change it. Why I tell you about following your dreams and becoming an entrepreneur is give your job back. I am where I am. Whatever social media happens to me by chance. It's not a forayed adventure or a misadventure or a career for me. It has never been. It's just happened to be. I happened to be on few podcasts, made some YouTube videos. It's just happening. It's proliferating. I'm not stopping it. But the point what I'm trying to tell you is build and empower people. You can be the greatest entrepreneur in this world. You might be Harvard educated. You might be having everything. You kindly go to US. You want a life over there, do it. But at least something, do a startup in India where people can get employed. It is how you give it back to this great nation. This is how you will develop this country. Invest in technologies, invest in manufacturing. Services we are good at. I will tell you a simple example. A Tavor assault rifle is a Israelis weapon industries made weapon which is a prime weapon of all the special forces in the country. Whether it is Marcos, Garud, special forces, name other few, maybe some weapons, but this is the prime mainstay. It is their weapon. The holographic sights, the ecosystem, build everything. You build so many things. Drones are being built. but the microchips and the components are coming from China. You will always be held, like you will always be looking for things. The navigation which we do use all kind of GPSs in the world. If Google stops it, it's a US Navy proprietorship. You can't do. Then you come back to the normal method of compass and everything. Build, own. And once you are into manufacturing, once you are into technology, invest into this thing. And final word, I would like to say that invest in your fitness. It's of paramount importance. The Honorable Prime Minister, in his Man Ki Baat, says about obesity being an epidemic. It's reality. He says about cutting on oily food. I would take a step further and say, move out and start having fitness in life. Move out. Move outdoors, run, jog, swim. Do something in which you are physically fit. In Special Forces, the first parade of the day, which starts at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, is a physical fitness. If I can't reach my target, there is no point being a Special Forces operative. If you are not fit, you can be the greatest person on it. It should be embedded and make a lifestyle change. Don't be just for a particular phase of your life. Okay, New Year is coming, we'll make a resolution. Go for it, finish it. I have received this much of weight is to be reduced, come back. The Honorable Prime Minister says to make this nation developed by 2047, it should not be his and his only dream. It has to be the dream of everyone sitting here in this auditorium. Every person has to contribute. If you are not contributing towards that, you are not building communities, you are not building businesses, you are not giving it back to the nation. Here we are. We can talk till the cows come back home. But we will not be able to develop as a nation. People will come and bully us. They will say something. We'll do. And we have to just listen and do it. This is all I have to say. Anything. And wishing you all a very great Independence Day. May God bless you all and may you have a great life. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. An excellent session there. And before we move forward to our other guest, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to announce our sponsors for the evening. This third Nationalist Conclave has been co-powered by Gallant TMT Rebars and Cement, Nirman ka real hero, JK Tyre, Desh ka Tyre, Apna Jobs, India's leading job apps. Thank you very much, sir. Request our audience to again, please be seated. Please take your seat.
And after the Nationalist Collective, where we heard that wonderful speech, we're going to get you more action. This time, viewers, from the top court, where the Supreme Court is making observations and detailed ones in the Election Commission of India SIR hearing that's continuing in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court bench has started speaking and observations have been coming out. 1 hour ago, the Supreme Court bench, Justice Bagchi had spoken about elbow room being given to the Election Commission of India under the Representation of People's Act. And they said some elbow room has to be given under the RP Act that mandates they can conduct a special revision in a manner as it deems fit. In fact, Justice Suryakant also added that the provisions in the RP Act would be in consonance with the Constitution. Viewers, remember the Election Commission of India versus the ADR, that's the Associate Democratic Rights, had begun its hearing yesterday in the top court. They started off with Kapil Sibal, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi. Today they have Gopal Sankaranarayan and speaking for them. It's a hearing that is seeing a lot of questions being raised. We also have for the Election Commission of India a lengthy affidavit being filed. Rakesh Dwivedi, who's appearing for them, senior advocate, has also gone into great details in the affidavit to explain how the ECI is just doing its job. After all the petitioners and the Associated Democratic Right, the ADR, the complainant, the petitioner has done its job, the ECI will also be going forward and they're going to give an understanding of what they have to say. Aditya inside the courtroom has been listening to the hearing and going into great details of the hearing. So we're going to try and go across to Aditya to get exact details of what was said in the Supreme Court today. I also want to tell our viewers this is not the only observation that Aditya has said and given to us. He's also told us right now that Justice Prashant Bhushan is also making arguments in the courtroom, and they're talking about arbitrary power to recommend, not to recommend. There are documents that are there with every Indian has, but there's a discussion on whether they are a proof of citizenship. This is what is being discussed in the Supreme Court. There was a discussion on Aadhaar that came forward. Prashant Bhushan has also spoken as an advocate and the Associated Democratic Rights in the Supreme Court right now, where he talks about the basis of recommendation and non-recommendation. In fact, he's the one who said large number of dead people have been found and have their names on the rolls, which the ECI has also taken into account. And several people whom they said have been dead, they said are not dead. Yesterday, we also saw Yogesh Yadav making certain observations and detailing in the Supreme Court hearing that's been going on. But I think the most important aspect of the case that's been happening in the top court, according to us, is also how the ADR has been called out by the ECI in its hearing with having malified purposes. The Election Commission of India has been extremely clear. They have been extremely categorical in a very strong affidavit where they say we have the right to conduct this survey. We also have the right because we need to understand which are the true voters and which are not the true voters. The hearing continues in the top court of the country. The Supreme Court of India hearing the Election Commission of India's case and going into great details about the citizenship, about the survey that has to be conducted in this case. And Supreme Court continues this hearing. Yesterday, the bench of Justice Suryakant and Bakshi heard the petitioners. Election Commission of India also has to respond. But till now, we're hearing Senior Advocate Shadan Farasat argue for the petitioners. I want to go across to Aditya joining us live. Aditya, you've been in this hearing for the past 2 days. I don't want to go into technicalities of what's happening in the Supreme Court, but tell us the body language of the lawyers for the petitioner and the Election Commission of India. Who's speaking? Are they also facing some answers and questions from the ECI? What is really happening? Give us the inside scoop and the drama that's taking place in the top court of the country inside the court. All right, we'll also now go to the other top story that we're tracking. We're going to try and go back to Aditya. He's outside the Supreme Court. There is an issue with the internet there. So we'll go back to him in a short while. He's going to go back inside to hear that hearing. Viewers, the other focus, SIT team meets Home Minister Parameshwar. SIT officers also Pranab Mohanty and Anuchet meet Home Minister Parameshwara to discuss Dharamsthala case. The special investigation team led by officers have met the Home Minister at the Vidhan Sauda. They discussed the Dharamsthala excavation case for half an hour, focusing on the ongoing investigation. And they have also prepared detailed reports of 1 to 16 sites for court, including depth and geography. Interim report to the government is going to likely be given. The excavation part of ongoing search has been suspended due to water accumulation. SIT has prepared detailed reports of 1 to 16 spots, and authorities are also preparing comprehensive reports for the excavation spots in Dharamsthala site. All the records which are there, including the sites where remains were found, are being compiled for submission. Reports also confirm that sites were dug as per instructions The SIT is likely to submit an interim report to the government regarding the excavation process and also the findings. This is going to be extremely crucial to see because this has been sought now. An interim report had been asked for in Dharamstala by the BJP had demanded an interim report in this case also, and we're going to see whether there's going to be an interim report that is going to be submitted on the story. Coming up after a short break, in a disturbing incident in Karnataka's Mandya, a pack of stray dogs attacked two young girls, aged 7 and 8 years, while they were playing outside their home.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मम्मा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा। सबका राजा आर मसाला।
Hi guys, just wanted to tell you that Republic Media Sports, our 4 sports, is not just about sport. It's about heart, discipline and untold dreams. Stories that need national stage. And I fully support this initiative and invite you all to be a part of this. So stay tuned for our 4 sports and let's cheer together.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
In the contested waters of the South China Sea, a dramatic and deeply embarrassing incident unfolded involving Chinese and Philippine vessels. The Chinese Coast Guard vessel CCG-3104, originally a repurposed PLA Navy 056 class corvette, collided with the PLA Navy's guided missile destroyer Guilin during a high-speed maneuver intended to block Philippine Coast Guard ships. The collision occurred as the CCG-3104 aggressively pursued the Philippine vessel BRP Suluan, which was engaged in a routine resupply mission to support Filipino fishermen operating near Scarborough Shoal, a flashpoint in the ongoing territorial dispute. The CCG-3104, though technically a law enforcement vessel, is militarized and routinely deployed for monitoring, blocking, and intimidation missions. Guilin 164, a heavily armed warship, was present to reinforce China's presence and provide backup in case of escalation.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
Ну, а чо ж тих два не пок...
The current American president, he's traveled a very long and difficult path. There were hardships along the way on his way to the White House.
Ми захищаємо населення, щоб шахеди не злетіли нікому ні в хату, нічого від людей. Зараз на даний час дуже важко, тому що їх побільшало.
A very good evening, viewers. You're watching Republic TV and I'm Deepak Suresh Kumar. The mystery of Dharmasthala's mass burial case continues to deepen because the SIT had brought in GPR, they had brought in excavators, but so far, as the focus remains on spot number 13, nothing has been found, and the excavation operations have also been suspended because of the presence of water beneath the soil. And even as that is going on, the SIT chief, along with Anuchet, has also met Karnataka Home Minister Dr. G. Parmeshwara in Bengaluru. And what we also understand is that an interim report is also being readied to submit it in the court, because the interim report will have spot number 1 to 16. The details of all these spots and what they have found so far, which is nothing. We'll get you all that and much more after a quick check on the headlines. Army has neutralized 2 Pakistani terrorists in North Kashmir, Uri. In an ongoing encounter, 1 soldier has also lost his life in the line of action.
अगर तुम हमारा पानी बंद करने की धमकी देते हो तो ये बात ज़हन में रखना कि पाकिस्तान की एक बूंद भी तुम पाकिस्तान से छीन नहीं सकते। उस खुदाए बुजुर्गों बरतर की कसम है कि अगर तुमने ये हरकत की तो दोबारा तुम्हें वो सबक सिखाएंगे कि तुम कानों को हाथ लगाओगे।
After Asim Munir and Bilawal Bhutto, now Shehbaz Sharif joins Pakistan's empty threat parade. Amid Trump's tariff bullying, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to travel to Moscow next week to meet Russian counterpart.
ये जो फर्जी वोट अगर बनते हैं तो उसकी सफाई हो, सच्चे भारतीयों को, पक्के नागरिकों को वोट का अधिकार उनका ना छिने, लेकिन जो घुसपैठिए हैं, जो फर्जी वोट बना है, उनके वोट को खत्म किया जाए तो उसका विरोध कांग्रेस पार्टी करती है।
Political face-off heats up after EC's SIR exercise. BJP says Rahul and India alliance is indulging in infiltrator vote bank politics.
केएन रजन्ना ने कि भाई हमारी सरकार थी 2024 में कर्नाटक में कांग्रेस, जब ये वोटर लिस्ट बनी तब आप आंखें मूंद करके बैठे थे, हाथ पे हाथ धर के बैठे थे, तब क्यों नहीं बोले? कांग्रेस ने उनको नोटिस तो छोड़िए, उनको बर्खास्त करने का सीधा आदेश राहुल गांधी जी ने दिया। कांग्रेस में आंतरिक लोकतंत्र खत्म हो चुका है।
Anurag Thakur questions K.N. Rajana's dismissal from Karnataka cabinet, says internal politics is dead in Congress. DGCA issues warning letter to Air India over safety violations. Air India faces enforcement action. First up, viewers, we have some big geopolitical developments coming to the fore. Zelensky is all set to be in Berlin for the Trump conference on Ukraine war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will visit Berlin today, and the visuals are coming in to join a video conference on the Ukraine war ahead of the summit between the US and Russian leaders. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. European leaders will hold online talks with Trump, hoping to convince him to respect Ukraine's interests when he discusses the war with Putin in Alaska on Friday. Now, Zelensky's visuals have come in. These are the pictures of Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukrainian president, arriving in Berlin. And this ahead of Trump-Putin talks in Alaska, which is scheduled to take place on Friday. And for Zelensky, this is both an opportunity as well as a risk, because if Trump leans towards a more cooperative approach with Putin, it could be disastrous for Ukraine. And we're talking about a potential reality where Ukraine is pushed into a corner, forced to make uncomfortable compromises in exchange for a tenuous peace deal. But if Zelensky's team can leverage Europe's support, particularly Germany, to hold Trump's feet to the fire, they could at least ensure that Ukraine's interests aren't sacrificed for short-term diplomatic wins. So Ukrainian President Zelensky is in Berlin, and he will be holding talks as well. And Zelensky knows that at this stage, this war isn't just about military action. It's also about strategy. It's also about alliances. It's also about the psychological warfare and the control over narrative. With Trump's history of erratic foreign policy and Putin's own expansionist goals, Zelensky is now in Berlin to meet the EU leaders. Zelensky will be holding this particular meeting, and it comes just ahead of Trump and Putin summit on Friday. Well, these are the live pictures, viewers, coming in from Berlin. And this comes just ahead, just a couple of days ahead of the much anticipated, the much awaited Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin meeting. And Zelensky is there to garner support, to also get the EU to back him. And this comes amid the geopolitical tensions that continue between Russia and Ukraine. While on one hand, the world is hoping that there could be a ceasefire, and on the other hand, diplomatic engagements continue. Donald Trump will be meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday, and just 48 hours before that, we have Zelensky here in Berlin. Krutat is joining us live to help us understand what this visit means. Krutat, what does this visit mean for Ukraine and most importantly for Zelensky just ahead of the Trump-Putin summit?
It's a very important position in terms of strategic posturing that today we see Friedrich Merz and Vladimir Zelensky together in Berlin. It's a big statement, Deepak, that Zelensky is trying to make ahead of the US and Russia summit in Alaska, that Ukraine is still very much part of the table in terms of discussions vis-a-vis the solution to the Russia-Ukraine war, and that no solution can be brought in without the involvement of Ukraine. Now, remember that Trump has made this a personal mission where he's going to have one-to-one talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin on August 15th. In Alaska, the exact date and timing are yet to be unveiled in detail. However, what we do know is that the initial position of Ukraine is that they are not ready to cede any territory that Ukrainians have lost to the Russians in this entire conflict, as it is an integral part of the Ukrainian constitution. This is one position that the entire European Union, along with NATO allies, have also seconded, because they believe that for the sovereignty of Ukraine and the territorial security for the entire European Union and NATO nations, it is very important to draw the line that Putin cannot unilaterally declare wars and gain territory in Europe. Now, this is a position in which Trump is very much flexible, and there are two major concerns that European allies and NATO allies, including Ukraine, have vis-a-vis Trump's negotiations with Russia. The first being Ukraine's membership in NATO. In the past, we have seen President Trump time and again has said that he is ready to concede the fact that Ukraine cannot be part of NATO, something that countries like Germany and other Baltic allies have in the past very seriously seconded, that Ukraine could perhaps become part of NATO. The second, of course, is ceding any land territory and without Ukraine having a negotiation. Basically, the entire European bloc is very skeptical of the talks happening between US and Russia in the larger interests of the conflict in Ukraine. And Europe is feeling left out, that because they will not be at the table, whether European interests can be negotiated with utmost priority. Many believe that Trump is playing into the hand of Vladimir Putin, and that this meeting in Alaska is going to benefit Russians more than the European and the Ukrainian interests, which is why in a strategic posture today, Friedrich Merz has invited Zelensky to come to Berlin. He has organized a series of virtual meetings with other NATO allies and European Union allies, where Zelensky will be addressing and articulating, providing him a platform to give his voice in front of the global presence, especially very critical European partners who have been funding the war in Ukraine, in a situation where after the meeting between Trump and Vladimir Putin, US decides to further pull back its military support to Ukraine, to also also pressurize Ukraine to come to the negotiation table and perhaps come to a solution that is more malleable to the Russians and the Ukrainians. It's a game of chess right now happening, and the first moves are being made already in Berlin, even before Putin and Trump sit on the larger table for negotiations. And basically, Ukraine is trying to set the terms ahead of Trump's visit. Whether these terms, whether this posturing will backfire on the Ukrainians and the European allies, whether it will even have an impact on Trump and its negotiations, which are largely under wraps as to what he is going to do, remains to be seen. But from what we know is that it is very difficult to predict what Trump is going to do. But the demands of the European allies are very clear. They do not want Trump to cede away the position where in future Ukraine can perhaps become part of NATO. And most importantly, they do not want Trump to give away any land in principle or on paper to Russians that they have gained in the Donbass region. So these are some of the larger talking points that we are looking at. But that's a historic meeting happening right now in Berlin, which will be looked back in the past as a matter of great significance, European posturing ahead of the Russia and US summit in Alaska.
That's right, Krutat, very well articulated. The game of chess has already begun and the first moves have already been made, and this time it is Zelensky who's trying to control the narrative, psychological warfare before Trump and Putin meeting takes over. But thank you, Krutat, for joining us live. Let's shift our focus to Odisha, viewers, because terror threat graffiti has come to light in Puri Jagannath's temple, threatening words written on the southern side of Jagannath temple premises. And these are the pictures from the Puri Jagannath temple, where you can see a graffiti threatening that terrorists will demolish Jagannath temple was found in Puri, and Odisha police have launched an investigation. And this is a graffiti that has sent shockwaves across Puri. In fact, we also have Madhusudan joining us live from Puri. Madhusudan, have the perpetrators been arrested? What's the latest as far as these graffitis are concerned?
You see that the incident is very sensitive, and the reaction of in charge SP, DIG Pinak Misra, the detained person is Raghunath Sahu, and very nearer village from Puri district, the Gadisa Gada, Nuaga residents Raghunath Sahu, his mental condition is very poor, and by detained person Raghunath Sahu, still interrogation is not completed and interrogation is continuing. After interrogation, the Raghunath Sahu handed over to the family member of that person, and because of his mental illness, better treatment facilities given to the Raghunath Sahu. But question is that the very sensitive issue because of the security issue of Lord Jagannath temple. Lots of people, lakhs of people are coming to see the Lord Jagannath from the outer part of the Odisha and also India also. But there is the question is that the security part of the Lord Jagannath temple, there is no facilities, lot of facilities given to the Lord Jagannath, because the lakhs of people are coming to Puri see the Lord Jagannath. There is not installation of tower facilities there, which a police person is standing and see the security areas of the temple and outer part of the temple. There is no facilities of a scanner also, and CCTV is not properly working also. When the periphery development is completed, and still CCTV, lots of CCTV is there, but CCTV is not handed over to the police person. That the issue is concern about that. सबसे बड़ी चीज है जे सिक्योरिटी अब तक सही ढंग से नहीं किया जा रहा है. अभी जो रथ यात्रा की वक्त में ऐसे भी कुछ हुआ था, जो मेघनाथ प्राचीर है, तो मेघनाथ प्राचीर को लंप के कुछ लोग अंदर भी चले गए थे. तो देयर इज अ लैप्स ऑफ सिक्योरिटी, सो दैट आज क्या हुआ, जो सुबह जब ये चीज आ गया, जे लिखा गया है मंदिर को आतंकवादी तोड़ देंगे, ये ऐसे कुछ लिखा गया है। नरेंद्र मोदी की नाम भी लिखा गया है और जो नंबर लिखा गया था ये सब नंबर पीएमओ ऑफिस का स्कैम के नंबर है। तो इस हिसाब से पुलिस जो इमीडिएटली तदंत आरंभ कर दिया। उस आफ्टर दैट रघुनाथ साहू ये जो काम किया था उसका मेंटल कंडीशन ठीक नहीं था, उसको पकड़ के लाए हैं और सब ये इंटरोगेशन किया जा रहा है। सबसे बड़ी बात है जो जगन्नाथ मंदिर का जो सिक्योरिटी है वो लैप्स कर रहा है, तो जगन्नाथ मंदिर का जो सिक्योरिटी कैसे बढ़ा जाए इसके ऊपर काम करना चाहिए पुलिस को और मंदिर प्रशासन को और डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को।
That's right, Madhusudan. This is a wake-up call for the police, for the district administration, and also for the temple authorities to ramp up their security measures, because this is indeed a security scare. How can a CCTV not be present in that particular temple, which is world famous? But many thanks, Madhusudan, for joining us with those details. Shifting our focus to Andhra Pradesh, YSRCP Chief and former Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy has made some pointed comments about Rahul Gandhi, alleging that TDP Chief Chandrababu Naidu is in touch with Rahul Gandhi through Revant Reddy on a hotline. Jagan Mohan Reddy has questioned why is Rahul Gandhi silent on alleged vote discrepancies in Andhra Pradesh, comparing it to Rahul's comments on vote chori elsewhere. Let's listen it to Jagan Mohan Reddy.
And what about Rahul Gandhi there in Delhi? When he talks about vote chori, why does he not make a statement on Andhra, where the highest 12.5% is the vote difference between what was announced versus on the counting day when the votes were counted. The difference was 12.5%. The highest what this man can ever speak of. Why does he not speak about Arvind Kejriwal? When Arvind Kejriwal himself lost MLA election, his own MLA seat Arvind Kejriwal lost. Can you believe that? Why doesn't Rahul Gandhi talk about that? He doesn't. Because Rahul Gandhi does not talk about Andhra because Chandrababu Naidu is in touch with Rahul Gandhi through Revant Reddy on a hotline.
Well, that was YSRCP Chief questioning Rahul Gandhi's selective approach. Now, shifting our focus, NIA continues its raids on terror associates and all those terror associates who are involved in terror financing. It has raided the residence of Srinagar man linked to UAPA case in Handwara, and the searches have been linked to ongoing terror-related investigation. Accused has been identified as Yasir Hayat Ahangir. Already in NIA custody, the search was part of a broader probe into terror financing and also logistical support networks in Jammu and Kashmir, with investigators now conducting follow-up searches to trace any possible evidence. The NIA raids are in Srinagar against a man who is linked to UAPA. Zeenath is joining us live. Zeenath, help us understand who this person is and what his role is as far as the terror financing is concerned, which the NIA is closely investigating.
See, the NIA is investigating the case of terror funding in the Jammu and Kashmir, and this case pertains to the Handwara district, and the man is from Ranawari. Today, the searches were conducted at his residence here in Ranawari, Srinagar. The man has been identified as Yasir Ahmed Ahangir, and he's also booked under UAPA and is already in the custody. At present, the NIA is trying to connect the dots of terror financing, the logistical support that is provided by such kind of people to the terror networks for carrying the bigger attacks. So today, once again, the NIA was seen in an action in Srinagar's downtown area where they were trying to connect the dots of the terror funding in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right, Zeenath, thank you for joining me. The NIA is in mission mode to dismantle the terror ecosystem across Jammu and Kashmir. It is raiding all individuals linked to UAPA cases and are also involved in terror financing. Now, AIMIM chief, viewers, on the other side, has responded to Shehbaz Sharif's threats to India. Owaisi has said that Pakistan cannot threaten India, while saying that India has BrahMos and that Islamabad must be very, very careful with its warmongering. This is Owaisi's BrahMos reminder for Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, because we know what happened During Operation Sindoor, when India launched BrahMos missiles, their air bases were completely reduced to rubble. There's a big crater now at that place. Let's listen in to Owaisi.
ब्रह्मोस है हमारे पास, और फिर उनको ये भी समझना चाहिए कि वो उन्होंने खुद कहा कि मैं स्विमिंग कॉस्ट्यूम में था तो मुझे मालूम हुआ कि 9 एयरबेस चले गए। इस तरह की बकवास उनको नहीं करनी चाहिए। आप एक मुल्क के वजीर आज़म हैं, आप एक कुछ तो खैर आपको उसका पासो लिहाज नहीं होगा, मगर इस तरह की आप जबान इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं जो हम पे कोई असर नहीं करेगा। पानी इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी को सरकार ने एबेंस में रखा है। अब एबेंस में रखा है तो बजाय उसके कि आप थोड़ा तब्दीली दिखाते, आप धमकी दे रहे हैं, तो धमकी का असर कुछ नहीं होगा भारत के ऊपर। अब बहुत हो गया। ब्रह्मोस है हमारे पास, और फिर उनको ये भी समझना चाहिए कि वो उन्होंने खुद कहा कि मैं स्विमिंग कॉस्ट्यूम में था तो मुझे मालूम हुआ कि 9 एयरबेस चले गए। इस तरह की बकवास उनको नहीं करनी चाहिए। आप एक मुल्क के वजीर आज़म हैं, आप एक कुछ तो खैर आपको उसका पासो लिहाज नहीं होगा, मगर इस तरह की आप जबान इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं जो हम पे कोई असर नहीं करेगा। पानी इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी को सरकार ने एबेंस में रखा है। अब एबेंस में रखा है तो बजाय उसके कि आप थोड़ा तब्दीली दिखाते, आप धमकी दे रहे हैं, तो धमकी का असर कुछ नहीं होगा भारत के ऊपर। अब बहुत हो गया।
Viewers, it's time for us to get you a quick roundup of the top stories from across the nation in 5 minutes. The Congress, along with RJD and other allies of the Mahagathbandhan, will commence a yatra in poll-bound Bihar against the Election Commission's SIR exercise. Congress MP KC Venugopal said the yatra will commence from Sasaram on August 17th to and end in Patna on September 1st. Venugopal further said, and I quote, "We have proof that the Election Commission is not neutral," and he also demanded an electronic voting list.
We decided a series of actions to follow up this issue in a bigger level. We will take it up to the bottom level of the people of India. Now it is very clear that Election Commission is totally siding with the government vote chori ke liye. So we are taking it up in a bigger way. On 14th August, we will do night march in all over India, district level night march. Vote chori, gand chor.
Supreme Court has cancelled the bail of wrestler Sushil Kumar in a murder case and has ordered him to surrender within a week. The Olympic medalist had been booked in the murder of wrestler Sagar Dhankar and was granted bail by the Delhi High Court. Sushil Kumar was charged with murder along with rioting, unlawful assembly and criminal conspiracy. Dhankar succumbed to his injuries when he was attacked by Sushil Kumar and his associates in the parking lot of Delhi's Chhatrasal Stadium on May 4th in 2021. Former AIADMK leader Maitreyan has joined DMK in the presence of Chief Minister MK Stalin in Chennai. After joining the DMK, Maitreyan said, and I quote, "MK Stalin is in the field following the footsteps of MK Karunanidhi in order to protect the well-being of Tamil Nadu." Maitreyan further added that the DMK is going to win the assembly elections in 2026 and the election is for the second place only. Former Bihar Deputy Chief Minister and Leader of Opposition Tejasvi Yadav has upped the ante against the Election Commission over SIR exercise. Tejasvi said the people are calling out the vote theft, but the Election Commission is committing vote dacoity at the behest of BJP. Tejasvi Yadav further added that earlier the CBI and ED were used, but when all these agencies became useless, the Election Commission is being brought forward.
शुरू दिन से ही हमने ये बात कही थी, जब से SIR की प्रक्रिया चल रही थी, कि साजिश की बुई नहीं बल्कि पूरा चुनाव आयोग का एक बड़ा भाजपा के साथ मिलकर के एक भारी जो है षड्यंत्र जो है रचा जा रहा है और भाजपा को मदद पहुंचाने के लिए चुनाव में जो हमारे गरीब मतदाता हैं, जो विपक्षी दलों के वोटर हैं, उनको मित्र बता दिया जाता है, उनका वोटर लिस्ट से नाम काट दिया जाता है।
Supporters of former Karnataka Minister K.N. Rajana gathered at Town Hall Circle in Tumakuru condemning the removal of K.N. Rajana from the post of Cabinet Minister. Reacting to the public outcry, Karnataka Health Minister Dinesh Gundurao said that the decision is made by the party and it is something that they will have to respect. Gundurao also highlighted that even Rajana has said that he will abide by the party decision, and he also added that Rahul Gandhi is his leader and he said he will go and explain to the High Command about his remarks.
It is a party decision and it is something that we all have to respect. Even Mr. Rajan also has said that he will abide by the party decision, and he has also said Rahul Gandhi is his leader, and he said he will go and explain to the High Command. So, but also in public life, we should also be careful about, sometimes when we see TV cameras.
It's time for a quick break, viewers. On the other side, we'll tell you about the political face-off that continues to heat up over EC's SIR exercise. BJP says Rahul and India alliance is indulging in infiltrator vote bank politics.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार। क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला।
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा।
In the contested waters of the South China Sea, a dramatic and deeply embarrassing incident unfolded involving Chinese and Philippine vessels. The Chinese Coast Guard vessel CCG-3104, originally a repurposed PLA Navy 056 class corvette, collided with the PLA Navy's guided missile destroyer Guilin during a high-speed maneuver intended to block Philippine Coast Guard ships. The collision occurred as the CCG-3104 aggressively pursued the Philippine vessel BRP Suluan, which was engaged in a routine resupply mission to support Filipino fishermen operating near Scarborough Shoal, a flashpoint in the ongoing territorial dispute. The CCG-3104, though technically a law enforcement vessel, is militarized and routinely deployed for monitoring, blocking, and intimidation missions. Guilin 164, a heavily armed warship, was present to reinforce China's presence and provide backup in case of escalation. On the Philippine side, BRP Suluan and PMP Suluan 4406 were conducting a peaceful humanitarian operation escorted by the Philippine Coast Guard to ensure safe passage and protection for local fishermen. The collision itself was severe. CCG-3104 sustained major structural damage to its bow, with video footage showing the front section of the vessel crumpled and debris floating in the surrounding waters. The impact raised immediate concerns about possible casualties, especially after two unidentified floating objects were spotted nearby. However, Chinese authorities did not confirm any man overboard incident, nor did they issue any official statement acknowledging the mishap. In stark contrast, the Philippine Coast Guard offered assistance despite the
This is Republic Jack Oliver's studio. Stay tuned for all the breaking news and updates. I am Tanisha Avasthi. Let's get started.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल
सफल बनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च।
Ну, а чо ж тих два не пок...
The current American president, he's traveled a very long and difficult path. There were hardships along the way on his way to the White House.
Ми захищаємо населення, щоб шахеди не залетіли нікому ні в хату, нічого від людей. Зараз на даний час дуже важко, тому що їх побільшало.
Були сьогодні доповіді наших військових, фронт.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Infiltration bid foiled. Army neutralizes 2 Pakistani terrorists in North Kashmir's Uri. BJP seeks report in SIT probe alleges plot to defame the Dharamsthala. Amid Trump's tariff tantrums, EAM Jaishankar to travel to Moscow next week to meet Russian counterpart.
ये जो फर्जी वोट अगर बनते हैं तो उसकी सफाई हो, सच्चे भारतीयों को, पक्के नागरिकों को वोट का अधिकार उनका ना छिने, लेकिन जो घुसपैठिए हैं, जो फर्जी वोट बना है, उनके वोट को खत्म किया जाए, तो उसका विरोध कांग्रेस पार्टी करती है।
Political face-off heats up over EC's SIR exercise. BJP says Rahul and India alliance indulging in infiltrator vote bank politics.
केएन रजन्ना ने कि भाई हमारी सरकार थी 2024 में कर्नाटक में कांग्रेस, जब ये वोटर लिस्ट बनी तब आप आंखें मूंद करके बैठे थे, हाथ पे हाथ धर के बैठे थे, तब क्यों नहीं बोले? कांग्रेस ने उनको नोटिस तो छोड़ी, उनको बर्खास्त करने का सीधा आदेश राहुल गांधी जी ने दिया। कांग्रेस में आंतरिक लोकतंत्र खत्म हो चुका है।
BJP MP Anurag Thakur questions KN Rajana's dismissal from Karnataka cabinet, says internal politics is in the party is there. And DGC issues warning letter to Air India over safety violations. Air India faces enforcement action. Good evening, welcome to Republic. I'm Ridhima. Top focus. BJP has alleged Congress MP Sonia Gandhi's name appeared on the electoral rolls even before she became an Indian citizen. In an attempt to get back at the opposition for its claims of vote fraud in the Lok Sabha election 2024, former Union Minister BJP MP Anurag Thakur said Sonia Gandhi, who was born in Italy, was added to the voter list in 1980, 3 years before she became an Indian citizen.
कांग्रेस सीधे सीधे चुनाव आयोग को भी चोरी करने का काम करती थी। 2005 में खबर छपी कि श्री नवीन चावला को इलेक्शन कमिश्नर अपॉइंट किया सोनिया गांधी जी ने। अरे भाई, प्रधानमंत्री मनमोहन सिंह थे तो सोनिया गांधी जी ने अपॉइंट कैसे कर दिया? और आप याद करिए, चीफ इलेक्शन कमिश्नर गोपाल स्वामी जी ने रिटन कंप्लेंट की थी कि श्री नवीन चावला ने बाहर जाके फोन पे सोनिया गांधी से बात की, बाहर खबर लीक करने का काम किया कहा था, नहीं कहा था। इतना बड़ा आरोप कांग्रेस की सरकार के समय लगा। और यही नहीं, अगर आप देखिए मनमोहन सिंह गिल इलेक्शन कमिश्नर थे, रिटायर हुए, कांग्रेस के सांसद बने, केंद्रीय मंत्री बन गए साहब।
Akanksha, give us more details about these documents that have been now bought and accessed by the BJP. It is shocking that someone who was not an Indian citizen was on the electoral rolls in 1980.
Well, absolutely, and this is a big charge that has come from the Bharatiya Janata Party. They have said that in 1980, Sonia Gandhi's name was added to the voter list, and that time she was holding the citizenship of Italy. Then in 1982, 2 years later, that name was removed from the voter list after there was a massive outcry. But in 1983, once again it was added to the voter list, but she only got the citizenship of India in fact, April 1983 is what the Bharatiya Janata Party is saying. In fact, we have the photo which the Bharatiya Janata Party has quoted to claim that to expose Sonia Gandhi, and it mentions that this is a photocopy of the electoral roll of 1980, indicating that Sonia Gandhi was a voter when she did not yet acquire the citizenship of Bharat. And in fact, if you see the serial number 388 that we are showing on the screen as well, it mentions name Sonia Gandhi, husband Rajiv Gandhi, female, 35-year-old. Now, the Bharatiya Janata Party says that in 1980, she held the citizenship of Italy and not of India. And then how come was her name added in the voter list? And it is very important to point out here that this is coming at a time when Rahul Gandhi is claiming that there's been a vote theft, not just in Karnataka, but in several states like Maharashtra, UP, etc. And to counter that specific allegation, now Bharatiya Janata Party has come out with this specific proof. Also saying, and also what Anurag Thakur has said, that the proof that whatever the claim Congress Party is making is completely false.
All right, thank you for giving us those details. We're also getting reactions from politicians and political parties. Let's take a look.
It appears if Sonia Gandhi was illegally entered into voter list, now Bharatiya Janata Party, they want to justify SIR just because Sonia Gandhi was entered into voter list illegally according to them. How can you justify SIR? There may be so many voters who would have been entered wrongly. I agree with you. Even then, you cannot, more than 65 lakhs votes have been deleted by Election Commission, and most of them belong to Muslim community, scheduled caste and poor villagers. So you have find out a way to win the election. If SIR is implemented in Bihar, and not only in Bihar, I am sure BJP will implement it in the whole of country, and they have find out a way to win the election.
High BJP replied back, over 1 lakh vote chori in Mahadevpura. Has BJP replied that why 65 lakh voters, 22 out of that 22 lakhs are shown dead. They are not being uploaded on website. Who they are? Are they really dead?
And we're also getting some breaking news coming in. Police have now detained BJP leader Tamilsan Soundarajan in her house as she wanted to join the protest of sanitation workers in Chennai. This is the big breaking news coming in. The police have detained BJP leader Tamilisai Soundarajan in her house. I'm going to go across to Sarda, who's joining us live on the story. Sharda, give us more details. We can see your frame right there.
Well, what is happening here in Tamil Nadu, especially in the capital of Chennai, right outside the corporation, the Greater Chennai Corporation office, is that these sanitation workers have been protesting for almost 13 days. And it is today that the Madras High Court said that over a PIL file that they are causing public nuisance, they have asked them to be removed from this place by the Tamil Nadu police. And we can also see the number of police deployed here. And they've also said that they want to arrest these people to make sure that this protest ends right now. Just few minutes back, the committee members met the ministers of Tamil Nadu, saying that this is now ended in a failure and this particular meeting did not run well, and it's expected that the sanitation workers would continue their protest. So this protest started 13 days back when sanitation workers of Zone 5 and Zone 6 were stated that they would be moved to the privatization company, and the sanitation workers and the cleaners would be receiving a lesser amount of salary than what they've already been said. However, what we have to see is the electoral promise made by the DMK when they came to power in 2021, saying that these temporary workers would be made permanent and their salaries would be taken care of by the government. However, a private company has taken over almost 10 zones, and of the 5 zones that is left, 2 more zones are now being privatized, and that's the reason the sanitation workers are protesting. After the Madras High Court order today, the protest has claimed its higher point, saying that these sanitation workers would not leave this place until they meet the DMK leader MK Stalin and also make sure that their job is made permanent. And then they also request, the demand that they keep is that the privatization should not be held into the sanitization work of the corporation. And Tamilisai Soundararajan, the BJP leader who was set to come here and meet the protesters at 5 p.m. today, has been detained by the police inside a house to make sure that she do not meet the protesters here.
Also give us details. We're seeing the protest. Stay with the protest and tell us more details about this arrest. Even protesters are getting arrested in this sanitation protest in Chennai, Sharda.
When these women, part of the sanitization of under the Greater Chennai Corporation, have been working for almost 15 years, and the jobs have always been temporary and it has never been permanent because the contracts keep changing every year, but the workers never did. Now, the DMK's government move it to an entire private company. The sanitization workers might be in trouble as their salaries might be brought down, and it is also not sure whether they would be given jobs by the private company or not. And that's the reason this protest started 13 days back and it continues on. While the talks have failed between the ministers, the corporation officers, along with the committee members today, the High Court has made a final decision saying that the protesters should not be outside the corporation office but should be moving to a location where they've given the permission to protest. However, there is no such praise that they have been given. They're just being detained by the Tamil Nadu police here.
All right. Thank you for giving us those details, Sharda. We'll continue tracking this story and come to you after that. We're getting breaking news coming in. We've also now been told the breaking news that's coming in. West Bengal Chief Secretary Manoj Pant has now arrived at the Election Commission of India in Delhi. This comes after the EC summoned him over non-suspension of tainted officers. They'd asked him to explain the removal of tainted officers. He's now in the capital to meet and explain his moves of not having heard the directions and not having this after the EC summoned him over non-suspension and not suspending the tainted officers. He's been summoned in the national capital at the Nirvachan Sadan, the ECI headquarters, by 5 p.m. on 13th of August, that is today. That's why he's present and currently there. I want to go across to Gopi, who's also joining us on the story. Gopi will have to give a response. And what communication has Pant made, if any? The West Bengal Chief Secretary who was summoned is now currently at the ECI headquarters.
Well, in fact, what we can tell our viewers as of now is that it was around 4:30 that Manoj Pant, who is the Chief Secretary of West Bengal, has reached at the Election Commission office here at Nirvachan Sadan. And what we are understanding, what we are getting to know from our sources is he is here at the ECI speaking to various senior officials to just give a context of why he was summoned. On Monday, it was ECI who had in fact suggested him to suspend various officials who were quote-unquote tainted, and after that he, in response to that notice which was given to him, had responded to the ECI that he cannot do this as that would be quote-unquote unproportionately harsh. So precisely why he has been called here at the Election Commission office today. We will have to wait and watch what happens inside, but what we are understanding from our sources is that Election Commission is pressurizing this particular Chief Secretary of State, because there are various officials who are not performing their roles and duties back in West Bengal. So this is what is the demand of ECI, and we'll have to wait and watch what pans out next once he leaves from the ECI office. Back to you.
All right, thank you for giving us those details, and I'm also going to go across to more breaking news that's coming in right now. Breaking news that's coming in, viewers. Updates coming in Dharamsala mass burial case. Excavation operation concluded at 13 points. The work to fill the pit ongoing at Hitachi. No bodies found in the 13 points. Excavation is totally reached, approximately 18 feet deep and 25 feet wide. Despite 2 days of continuous operations, we're also now being told that despite this, nobody was found. So lots of details that are coming in the Dharamsala case. We're also going to go across to my colleague Nagendra joining us live from on the story. Nagendra, give us more details.
देखिए रिमा, ये मास्कमैन ने बहुत कॉन्फिडेंट में था, ये 13th पॉइंट में कुछ तो मिलेगा बोल के एससीटी ऑफिसर का सामने उन्होंने बताया था। इसका वजह से 13th पॉइंट से कल 2 दिन से इधर एक्सकवेशन का काम चल रहा है, लेकिन आज भी वही पॉइंट में एक्सकवेशन किया। लगभग 18 फीट अंदर जाके उधर चेक किया तो उधर कुछ भी नहीं मिला है। अभी एससीटी लोग ने अभी कंक्लूजन को, ये पॉइंट का कंक्लूजन को आ चुका है। ये पूरा मिट्टी को क्लोज करके इधर का एक्सकवेशन का इन्वेस्टिगेशन के लिए आज के लिए क्लोज करने के लिए वो लोग अभी फाइनलाइज कर दिया है। कल उन्होंने मास्कमैन में बोला यही जगह पे और एक जगह मैं दिखाता हूँ, वो जगह पे भी हम लोग ने एक्सकवेशन करना है बोल के वो डिमांड भी रखा है। उसको छोड़ के और 15 प्लेस में दिखाऊंगा, नया जगह को मैंने दिखाऊंगा, वो जगह पे जाके उधर भी एक्सकवेशन करना है, ऐसा उन्होंने डिमांड किया है। लेकिन एसआईटी 13th पॉइंट में एक्सकवेशन किया तो कुछ भी नहीं मिला है। बिना 6 नंबर का पॉइंट में थोड़ा स्कल मिला था, उसको छोड़ के और कुछ में जगह पे एक्सकवेशन किया तो कुछ भी नहीं मिला है। इसलिए एसआईटी लोग आज बड़ा डिसीजन लेने वाला है आगे का दिन, मतलब कल से एक्सकवेशन करना है क्या नहीं, अलग तरीके से इन्वेस्टिगेशन करने के लिए एसआईटी आगे बढ़ता है क्या, हम लोग वेट करना है। रिद्धिमा,
थोड़ी डिटेल्स और बताइए, जहां पे आप हैं कुछ हमें दिखाइए, वहां पे क्या हो रहा है।
रिद्धिमा देखिए, हमारा विजय को मैं बताता हूँ, कल देखिए ये पॉइंट में पूरा 18 फीट तक अंदर गए, अंदर जाके डिग किया तो मट्टी को निकाला तो उधर भी कुछ नहीं मिला था, क्योंकि इधर जीपीआर एक्सपर्ट लोगों को भी इधर लेके आया था। बिकॉज वो बाजू में नेत्रावती रिवर जाता है और एक 10 फीट के अंदर ऑलरेडी मिट्टी डाल के इसको हाइट भी किया था। 2 साइड पे वो लाइट खंबा भी है, इसका वजह से लाइट पोल में हम लोग दिख सकता है, वो लाइट पोल दिखता है। तो वो जगह पे वो हिटाची को पकड़ के हिटाची से मैनुअली एक्सकवेशन करने के लिए बहुत मुश्किल सोच के एसआईटी टीम वो जीपीआर एक्सपर्ट लोगों को कल इधर लेके आया था। लेकिन 40 मिनट्स तक जीपीआर एक्सपर्ट लोग वो रडार से, मतलब इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक वेव्स का मदद से पूरा इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया तो कुछ भी नहीं मिला कल। इसलिए उसके बाद वो दोनों हिटाची को पकड़ के दोनों हिटाची से एक्सकवेशन करने के लिए आगे बढ़ा था। कल शाम दोपहर से अभी तक इधर एस्केलेशन कर चुका है, 3 पॉइंट करके इधर वो डिग किया है, लेकिन अभी तक कुछ भी नहीं मिला है। देखिए अभी सोको टीम भी जा रहा है वो जगह का पूरा फोटो लेके, हर 1 घंटा का कितना फीट जाता है अंदर, उसका पूरा फोटो खींचने के लिए सोको सीन ऑफ क्राइम ऑफिसर भी आके उधर फोटो खींच के उधर जा रहा है। और एक जगह पे SIT ऑफिसर्स लोग भी बैठा है, वो मार्क्समैन भी बैठा है, मतलब सीनियर ऑफिसर्स भी उधर बैठा है, FSL टीम भी उधर बैठा है। लेकिन अभी हम लोग देख रहे हैं वो हिटाची को यूज करके पूरा उसका मट्टी में क्लोज करने का वर्किंग चल रहा है। इसके बाद इधर का पॉइंट का आज का ये इन्वेस्टिगेशन पूर्ण होता है बोल के SIT ऑफिसर हम लोग अभी इंफॉर्मेशन भी दे चुका है। लेकिन कल क्या होता है वो भी SIT ऑफिसर्स अभी तक डिसीजन नहीं लिया है। वो नया जगह दिखाते हो बोल के मार्क्समैन में बोला, इसलिए SIT लोग गवर्नमेंट को ऑलरेडी आज का दिन, मतलब कितना दिन क्या क्या इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया है, पूरा रिपोर्ट भी गवर्नमेंट का हाथ में रख दिया है। गवर्नमेंट अभी कॉल लेगा कल से एक्सकवेशन का इन्वेस्टिगेशन चालू रखना है क्या, आज क्या एक्सकवेशन मतलब इसके साथ पूरा इन्वेस्टिगेशन को बंद करना है बोल के आज गवर्नमेंट डिसीजन लेने वाला है। देखिए आज दक्षिण कन्नड़ डिस्ट्रिक्ट का इंचार्ज मिनिस्टर दिनेश गुंडूराव भी वैसा ही बोला है। ये इतना एक्सकवेशन क्या है तो मतलब 16th पॉइंट में हम लोग ने मट्टी को निकाल के देखा तो उधर कुछ भी नहीं मिला है, इसलिए हम लोग डिसीजन लेने वाला है आगे एक्सकवेशन काम करना है क्या नहीं करना है। गवर्नमेंट भी वो डिसीजन आज या कल कैबिनेट मीटिंग में ये डिसीजन लेने वाला है। रिद्धिमा,
All right, thank you for giving us those details. We'll continue tracking the story very closely. Now, viewers, tensions have flared in Haryana's Nuh district after a minor parking dispute spiraled into large-scale violence in Mundaka village. What began as an argument quickly turned into a full-blown clash with arson, stone pelting and injuries reported. Here's that report on this disturbing escalation.
A minor dispute over a vehicle parking in the Mundaka village, located on the Haryana-Rajasthan border in Nuh district, escalated into a violent clash. At least a dozen have been injured. People on both sides resorted to stone pelting, glass bottle attacks and arson.
डंडों का इस्तेमाल किया गया, पत्थरों का इस्तेमाल किया गया, शराब की बोतलें एक दूसरे पर फेंकी गई, उसके सबूत आपको यहाँ पर नजर आ जाएंगे। आप ये देखिए, ये शराब की बोतल आपको यहाँ पर नजर आ जाएगी जो हमले के लिए इस्तेमाल की गई। टूटे हुए कांच आपको इस तरीके से जो पीसेस है वो आपको यहाँ पर पड़े हुए नजर आ जाएंगे। और जैसे जैसे मैं आगे चलता जाऊँगा आप ये देखिए, यहाँ पर भी आगजनी हुई है, पूरी सड़क आपको काली यहाँ पर नजर आ जाएगी। इसी जगह पर जो टायर थे उनको जलाए गए, जो डंडे उनके पास थे, जो बाइक यहाँ पर खड़ी थी उनको जलाया गया। और अगर मेरे विजय आकाश आपको तस्वीर दिखाएं तो आप ये देखते चलिए, बारीक बारीक आपको कांच यहाँ पर नजर आ जाएंगे। और सीसीटीवी कैमरों में जब आप तस्वीरें देख रहे हैं कि कैसे सामने पत्थरबाजी हुई, किस तरीके से सामने बोतल्स फेंकी गई और किस तरीके से उपद्रव हुआ।
Police say the altercation began when a man, a local resident, parked his car in the middle of the road, while another asked him to move his vehicle. An argument broke out during which the young man in the car allegedly attacked with a glass bottle. The confrontation quickly drew in people from both sides, leading to mass stone pelting. During the chaos, a motorcycle and a small roadside shop was set on fire.
हाँ, दुकान पर हा ही हमारा आदमी हम झगड़ा में ना हवा ही बैठा हुआ, इतने होश होती होती लड़ाई ही आई है। फिर वो आदमी बेचारा कोई को कान कट को, कोई को माथा फूट को, उन्नत लेगा एम्बुलेंस में, और वह गांव का आके नहीं वो हमारे ही चढ़ हम अपने भीतर दुबक हम ना झगड़ा में, वो तो गांव का कोई झगड़ा में
होंगे उस समय
सड़क पर बहुत थोड़ा ये जब ज़्यादा पुलिस से आगे वो ज़्यादा आगा माड़ी, फिर तो गांव दो चार हमारा गांव है, थोड़ा गांव का थोड़ा हमारा महीना खाया हुए। और जब उन्हें जाने की लूट फूट करो, जब उतरंगा वे ये उतरंगा, जब ही से लिया फेंकिया बोतल रू करो हूँ जो और धरो हंसली धरी मेरी और 1 किलो कड़ा धरा हूँ सर मकान फोड़ दिया, आग लगा रखी तूड़ा में।
A team from the Firozpur police reached the spot to control the situation. But by evening, the entire village turned into a fortress with heavy security in place. The police have registered a case in connection with the violence and have launched a manhunt to nab those involved. Security forces are expected to remain deployed in Mundka until the situation is deemed completely stable.
Breaking news coming in. This is from Madhya Pradesh, capital Bhopal. We're being told there's a gas leak in Govindpura industrial area of Bhopal. Initial reports are suggesting it's a chlorine gas leak. NDRF and SDRF teams are on the spot, and the police have said the situation is normal. We're going to try and get more details. There has been in the Govindpura industrial area of Bhopal a gas leak that has been reported. We're also going to try and go across to our reporter to get more details. NDRF and SDRF teams are already at the spot. Initial reports have suggested it's chlorine gas leak. And in the Govindpura industrial area of Bhopal, this has been seen. The gas leak in Bhopal, where the NDRF and the SDRF teams are already at the spot. The visuals on the screen are showing that. And Govindpura industrial area of Bhopal is where this has been seen. The police is saying that this is now a place where it's normal. They are saying that the situation is under control. The latest input that's coming in says the gas leak in Bhopal, in Govindpura, the police is saying that the situation is normal. Remember, this is something of concern because we do remember the Bhopal gas leak disaster tragedy where the economy had been stalled in Bhopal after the 1984 gas leak. But the information we're getting from the police that the situation on ground is normal. And the NDRF and the SDRF teams are already at the spot in Bhopal where the gas leak has taken place. We're also being told suggestion that it's chlorine gas leak in Govindpura industrial area of Bhopal. Chlorine gas leak suggestions are this is a chlorine gas leak. The pictures on the screen show the NDRF and the SDRF teams on the spot. Let's listen into a reaction coming in from the police. Satya Vijay, can you give us more details? Our reporter Satya Vijay is joining us.
जब तो देखिए भोपाल के मुख्य इलाका जो है गोलपुरा मुख्य इलाका है यहाँ पर गोलियां
All right, we'll come back on the story. We're also going to go across, but coming up after a short break, we're getting you more details. Infiltration bid is foiled. Army neutralizes 2 Pakistani terrorists in North Kashmir's Uri. Amid Trump tariff tantrums, EAM Jaishankar to travel to Moscow next week to meet Russian counterpart.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला।
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
In the contested waters of the South China Sea, a dramatic and deeply embarrassing incident unfolded involving Chinese and Philippine vessels. The Chinese Coast Guard vessel CCG-3104, originally a repurposed PLA Navy 056 class corvette, collided with the PLA Navy's guided missile destroyer Guilin during a high-speed maneuver intended to block Philippine Coast Guard ships. The collision occurred as the CCG-3104 aggressively pursued the Philippine vessel BRP Suluan, which was engaged in a routine resupply mission to support Filipino fishermen operating near Scarborough Shoal, a flashpoint in the ongoing territorial dispute. The CCG-3104, though technically a law enforcement vessel, is militarized and routinely deployed for monitoring, blocking, and intimidation missions. Guilin 164, a heavily armed warship, was present to reinforce China's presence and provide backup in case of escalation. On the Philippine side, BRP Sulwan and PMP Sulwan 4406 were conducting a peaceful humanitarian operation escorted by the Philippine Coast Guard to ensure safe passage and protection for local fishermen. The collision itself was severe. CCG 3104 sustained major structural damage to its bow, with video footage showing the front section of the vessel crumpled and debris floating in the surrounding waters. The impact raised immediate concerns about possible casualties, especially after two unidentified floating objects were spotted nearby. However, Chinese authorities did not confirm any man overboard incident, nor did they issue any official statement acknowledging the mishap. In stark contrast, the Philippine Coast Guard offered assistance despite the aggressive behavior of the Chinese vessel, underscoring their professionalism and adherence to humanitarian norms. This incident is a significant embarrassment for China on multiple fronts. It reveals a troubling lack of coordination between its own maritime forces. The fact that a Coast Guard vessel collided with a Navy destroyer during a routine operation suggests serious flaws in communication, navigation, or command protocols.
Bid foiled. Army neutralizes two Pakistani terrorists in North Kashmir's Uri. Bharatiya Janata Party seeks report in SIT probe, alleges plot to defame Dharamsthala. Amid Trump's tariff tantrums, External Affairs Minister Jaishankar to travel to Moscow next week to meet the Russian counterpart.
ये जो फर्जी वोट अगर बनते हैं तो उसकी सफाई हो, सच्चे भारतीयों को, पक्के नागरिकों को वोट का अधिकार उनका ना छिने, लेकिन जो घुसपैठिए हैं, जो फर्जी वोट बना है, उनके वोट को खत्म किया जाए, तो उसका विरोध कांग्रेस पार्टी करती है.
Political face-off heats up over Election Commission's SIR exercise. Bharatiya Janata Party says Rahul Gandhi and Indie bloc indulging in infiltrator vote bank politics.
और फिर उनको भी समझना चाहिए कि वो उन्होंने खुद कहा कि मैं स्विमिंग कॉस्ट्यूम में था तो मुझे मालूम हुआ कि 9 एयरबेस चले गए. इस तरह की बकवास उनको नहीं करनी चाहिए.
After Asim Munir and Pakistan Prime Minister threats, Owaisi has reminded Pakistan, do not mess with India, we have BrahMos. DGCA issues warning letter to Air India over safety violation. Air India faces enforcement action. Let's start with the breaking news coming in. Just a while back, Ukraine President Zelensky arrived in Germany to meet the German Chancellor. And before these talks with the United States and European leaders, we're learning that Zelensky and the German Chancellor will hold a bilateral meeting before joining a video conference with European leaders, NATO Secretary General, and also US President Donald Trump. The German government has said that the call between Zelensky, Donald Trump, and European leaders is expected to take place at 2 p.m. local time. A separate call with Donald Trump, US Vice President J.D. Vance, and European leaders is expected an hour after that. The talks will take place just 2 days before Donald Trump's planned meeting with Russian President Putin in Alaska on August 15, the first face-to-face meeting between the two leaders since the start of Trump's second term. So this is the big breaking news that we are getting for you. Just a while back, Zelensky arrived in Berlin for calls with European leaders and Donald Trump ahead of the Friday's US-Russia summit. In fact, we're learning that as far as European leaders are concerned, including UK's Keir Starmer, are expected to reiterate that no decision should be taken without Ukraine when Trump and Putin meets. So this is a crucial meeting of Zelensky. He's going to be having a virtual summit with Donald Trump just 2 days before he's going to be having talks with the Russian president. Let me go across to my colleague Kruthat, who joins us live from the Republic TV newsroom. Kruthat, tell us about this this crucial visit of Zelensky to Berlin. That comes just 2 days ahead of the crucial meeting between the US President and the Russian President.
It's a massive statement in terms of strategic posturing that is happening in Berlin today, Akansha. And what is happening right at the moment is that European allies are rallying behind Ukrainian Zelensky. And the fact of the matter is that European allies are a bit miffed by the fact that at the moment US and Russia are going to have a conversation in Alaska over one of the biggest wars Ukraine or Europe rather as a continent has seen since the end of World War II. And both European representatives or Ukrainian representatives will not be part of this historic meeting happening between the Russian president and the US president at a time when the war has been ongoing for 3 years. There are going to be two major factors of contention between the European Union and NATO members and Ukraine in general, which is why they are very skeptical about this entire meeting happening in Alaska between Russia and the United States. And those are first the NATO membership or a probable NATO membership of Ukraine sometime down the line in the future. And second, what happens to the territory that Russians have gained in the 3-year-long war that they have had with Ukraine. Now, at the moment, the considerations are as such that based on historical statements of Trump, it is understood that he is very willing to concede the fact that maybe in future, Ukraine will never become part of NATO. This is a non-negotiable red line as far as Putin is concerned. This is something for which Ukrainian allies are very concerned about if Trump gives it away on the table. The second aspect is the land and land that is lost. Now, as per Ukraine's constitution, it is very clear that Ukraine has no authority to cede away any land to any other country. So what happens to the land where Russia is already inside Ukraine and is as an occupying force, as the Ukrainians like to put it? What will happen to those lands? Now, Trump in various statements has said that there will have to be some land concessions that will have to be made. Now, this is something that is not acceptable either to the Ukrainians or to the European allies, because it sets a very dangerous precedent that if you go to a war in Europe and if Putin starts another war and gains land, then there is nothing that you can do to take that back. And it challenges the very idea of territorial sovereignty in the European context largely. So this show of strength at the moment are for two major reasons. One, to dissuade Trump that he is not alone in this fight of bringing peace to Ukraine and Russia war, and that Ukraine also has a very important voice. Second is also in an alternative possibility where US attempts to pull back its support to the Ukrainians in an attempt to draw them to the negotiation table under pressure. The European solidarity at such a time that even if US pulls back militarily or diplomatically, European nations will come together for Ukraine and stand together is a big statement. Germany, remember, is one of the biggest contributing partners after the United States into NATO. So this meeting happening in Berlin and Merz personally organizing virtual summits for Zelensky to have conversations with European allies is a very significant strategic move. All eyes are now in Berlin as the negotiations effectively of the Russia-Ukraine war, which are now entering its next phase. Very serious negotiations expected with Trump on the table. Now the talk is going to get very serious. It's no longer just going to be statements, and perhaps Europe is attempting to make a big one today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all the details. We'll keep coming back to you for more on this. Now, shifting our focus to Odisha, a man was detained in connection with the alleged writing of threatening messages on the walls of Ma Thakurani temple near the entrance of the heritage corridor. That is near the Puri temple, the Jagannath temple in Puri. The accused has been identified as Raghunath Sahu. He's 55-year-old, a local resident of Puri is what we are learning. According to the police, Sahu appeared to be mentally unstable in the initial investigation that was carried out. The police has said that in the morning our team found threatening messages on the wall of the temple. Immediately a special team was deployed, and during the investigation we have identified the accused as Raghunath Sahu, a resident of Puri. The police also further said that Sahu showed signs of mental instability and was speaking in gibberish during the interrogation. He also admitted to writing the message but could not explain his act clearly. He also said that, in fact, the police went on to say that the accused has a history of the family discord. A medical examination will be conducted soon to assess his mental condition. All right, let me go across to Madhusudan, OTV reporter who joins us live on the broadcast with more details. Tell us more about this accused who has been found. Has a medical examination been already done by the police? Because the initial statement that the police has given is that he's mentally unstable, not able to tell exactly why he did the act that he did earlier today. Give us more details.
After medical examination conducted by the police person handed over to the Raghunath Sahu's family member because of mental illness of the Raghunath Sahu. अभी अभी मैंने बात कर रहा था सिटी डीएस के साथ, वो बोले कि जो रघुनाथ साहू का जो फैमिली मेंबर है उनको हैंडेड ओवर कर दिया गया है और एक अंडरटेकिंग लिखने के बाद ही हैंडेड ओवर कर दिया गया है उनको, उनका फैमिली मेंबर को। सबसे बड़ी बात है कि लाखों तादाद के लोग आते हैं, पुरी आते हैं, मंदिर के जगन्नाथ मंदिर को आते हैं जगन्नाथ को दर्शन करने के लिए, और यहाँ का जो सिक्योरिटी लैप्सेस ज्यादा से ज्यादा हो रहा है। सबसे बड़ी बात है मंदिर जो कॉरिडोर बना गया है और बनने के बाद सीसीटीवी करीब 100 से ज्यादा सीसीटीवी लगाया गया है मंदिर की चारों तरफ। अभी तक कोई भी सीसीटीवी हैंडेड ओवर नहीं है किया है मंदिर का जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन पुलिस पर्सन को, पुलिस प्रशासन को। सबसे बड़ी बात है ये जो रघुनाथ साहू जो इंसिडेंट किया है, जो सेंसिटिव इशू है, आतंकवादी मंदिर को उड़ा देंगे और पीएमओ ऑफिस का जो नंबर है, टेलीफोन नंबर, ये सब लिखा गया है वो जो मंदिर की जो वॉल के ऊपर। ये तदंत करने के बाद और स्थानीय जो लोग हैं उनको उनसे इंफॉर्मेशन लेने के बाद जो बालिश आई है वहीं से रघुनाथ साहू को पुलिस ने पकड़ा है। पकड़ने के बाद जो रिटिन जो लिखा गया था जो वॉल में, ये किसका सिग्नेचर था, किसका जो राइटिंग था, उसको भी रघुनाथ साहू का जो राइटिंग और उस जो राइटिंग लिखा गया था उसको मिला के कंक्लूजन में पुलिस पहुंचा कि रघुनाथ साहू ने भी लिखा है। और सबसे बड़ी बात है एक ही जगह पे नहीं है, मंदिर के जो दक्षिण पार्श्व में जहां पे लिखा था रघुनाथ साहू, और एक जो ईस्ट गेट के सामने और एक वॉल में भी रघुनाथ साहू ने भी लिखा था। और ये सबसे बड़ी बात है, रघुनाथ साहू जमशेदपुर में एक चाय दुकान किया था और ये जो निसार निवारण केंद्र में उसको एडमिट किए थे उनका परिवार मेंबर, और बाद में वो निसार निवारण केंद्र से कहीं से फरार हो गया। पुरी आके 2-4 महीना हो गया है, पुरी में रह रहा था और मंदिर के चारों तरफ घूम रहा था, और जब पुलिस को देख रहा था वो गाली दे रहा था। तब एक उसका नाम में भी एक सिंगोद्वार थाना में भी एक केस पहले से था, और बाद में जब रघुनाथ साहू को पकड़ने के बाद उसका जो मेंटल कंडीशन और जो ट्रीटमेंट वगैरह वो चल रहा था, परिवार के साथ बात करने के बाद कंक्लूजन में पहुंचा कि वो मेंटल इलनेस व्यक्ति है रघुनाथ साहू, तो पुलिस उसको हैंडेड ओवर कर दिया उसका परिवार को। और सबसे बड़ी बात है जो मंदिर का सिक्योरिटी, देयर इज नो CCTV facilities around the temple, Sri Jagannath
Absolutely.
temple.
There on the screen you can see that message that has been written in Odia. It shows that terrorists will destroy this, and now this person, 55-year-old man, has been arrested. Police says that he's mentally unstable. Thank you so much, Madhusudan, for all the details. We'll keep coming back to you for more on this. Now we're shifting our focus to Karnataka. As far as the Dharmasthala mass burial case is concerned, SIT team in fact today met with the Home Minister and SIT officers Pranab Mohanty, and also he met with the Home Minister to discuss the case and what has happened till now. We're learning that SIT led by officers met with the Home Ministers at Vidhan Sauda, and they discussed the Dharamsthala evacuation case for half an hour, focusing on the ongoing investigation. SIT has also prepared a detailed report of 1 to 16 sites for the court, including depth, geography, and interim report in fact will be submitted to the government, and the evacuation part of this ongoing search has concluded is what we are learning, and this report will be handed over to the government and the court shortly. This is a big breaking news that we are getting for you. SIT team today met with the Home Minister to brief him about what has happened in the case so far as far as the evacuation of those areas are concerned. Remember, in the last 2 weeks several things have been recovered from that area. That includes skull. Several bones have also been recovered from several spots in Dharamsthala, and today what we are learning is that the SIT probe is complete and the report will be submitted shortly. Let me go across to Nagendra Babu, who's joining us live on the broadcast, and he's been tracking the story very closely. Nagendra, हमें बताइए कहाँ तक ये पूरा probe पहुंचा है, कब तक ये रिपोर्ट सबमिट होगी, and most importantly आज बहुत एक crucial मीटिंग हुई थी SIT टीम और होम मिनिस्टर की, उसमें क्या कुछ अपडेट दिया गया है?
आकांक्षा, देखिए आज का 13th पॉइंट में एस्केलेशन हुआ था, वो अभी क्लोज हो गया है। आज का एस्केलेशन कंप्लीट किया है। कल कहाँ से एस्केलेशन चालू होने वाला है अभी तक नहीं पता है, लेकिन कल तक क्या क्या इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया है, कौन सा पॉइंट में क्या क्या मिला है बोल के पूरा रिपोर्ट लेके SIT ऑफिसर्स प्रणब मोहंती एंड MN अनुचित दोनों भी जाके आज होम मिनिस्टर परमेश्वर को मीट करके मीटिंग में पूरा रिपोर्ट उसका सामने रखा है। आकांक्षा, देखिए अभी तक 16th पॉइंट में एस्केलेशन किया है, उसमें खाली 6th वन में थोड़ा एस्केलेशन किया था, वो टाइम पे थोड़ा स्कल मिला था, उसको लैब को भेजा है, उसका भी एक आदमी का है बोल के इंफॉर्मेशन मिला है। उसका बिना हुआ 11th A पॉइंट में बिना एस्केलेशन मतलब ऊपर ही मिला था वो स्केलेटन, वो पूरा सीज करने के लिए AC इन्फॉर्म दिया था, मतलब गाइड ऑर्डर किया था। उसका वजह से वो जगह में 11th A पॉइंट में क्या मिला था उसको सीज करके अभी उसको भी लैब को भेजा है। लेकिन अभी तक 16th पॉइंट हुआ है, 16th पॉइंट में खाली 6th पॉइंट में एस्केलेशन करके उधर मिला था, वो बाकी किसी का पॉइंट में कुछ भी नहीं मिला है। आज भी और कल दोनों दिन पॉइंट नंबर 13th में पूरा एस्केलेशन किया था, बहुत डेप्थ तक डिग भी किया था, लेकिन कुछ भी नहीं मिला। देखिए अभी वो ऑपरेशन चल रहा है, मैं वो ही जगह को दिखाने के लिए मैं आगे बढ़ता हूँ। देखिए दोनों हिटाची में वो कितना मतलब 20 फीट तक उसको खोला था, हाँ 20 फीट तक उसको ओपन किया था, उसको अभी मट्टी से पूरा वो क्लोज करने का काम चल रहा है। मतलब आज का पूरा काम हो चुका है, लेकिन कल से क्या होता है पता नहीं। देखिए मास्क मैन थे बहुत कॉन्फिडेंट में था, उन्होंने बताया था ये 13th पॉइंट में बहुत सारा आदमी लोगों को मैंने इधर बरियल किया था बोल के उन्होंने बोला था। वो कॉन्फिडेंट का देखे यही पॉइंट में 13th पॉइंट में पूरा 2 जगह पे डिग किया था, लेकिन वो पूरा 20 फीट तक अंदर गया तो कुछ भी नहीं मिला। देखिए कल ये एस्केलेशन का काम चलने के समय में 13th फीट में पानी मिला था, वो पानी निकालने के बाद फिर एस्केलेशन चालू रखा था, 20 फीट तक गया तो वो कल भी कुछ भी नहीं मिला था, आज भी कुछ भी नहीं मिला है। देखिए ये पूरा बहुत चेंजेस हो रहे हैं। देखिए वो कॉन्फिडेंट में था, सैटरडे एस्केलेशन के टाइम पे रत्नागिरी हिल्स में उन्होंने कॉन्फिडेंटली बोला था केरला का एक गर्ल को मैंने लेके आके इधर ही बरियल कराया था बोल के उन्होंने खुद SIT ऑफिसर के सामने वो कॉन्फिडेंटली बोला था। उसके बाद उधर भी नहीं मिला, उधर भी 15 फीट तक डिग करके मट्टी को निकाल के देखा तो उधर भी कुछ भी नहीं मिला। उसका भी पहला दिन मतलब फ्राइडे बोलियार को लेके जाके उधर 2 पॉइंट में फॉरेस्ट एरिया में 2 पॉइंट दिखाया था, 2 पॉइंट में भी एस्केलेशन किया था, उधर भी कुछ नहीं मिला है। देखिए खाली 2 जगह पे, एक 6th पॉइंट में 5 फीट डिग करने के बाद उधर थोड़ा स्कल मिला था, उसको सीज करके लैब को भेजा है, उसका भी रिपोर्ट आ चुका है। उसका बिना 11th A पॉइंट में बिना डिग किया उस मतलब अर्थ का ऊपर ही था, वो ऊपर ही पड़ा था स्केलेटन, उसको सीज करने के बाद उसको भी लैब को भेजा है। देखिए कल ऑलरेडी MN अनुचित SIT का ऑफिसर्स जाके गवर्नमेंट को एक रिपोर्ट दिया था। आज प्रणब मोहंती भी जाके दोनों मिलके, प्रणब मोहंती एंड MN अनुचित दोनों मिलके आज होम मिनिस्टर को मीट करके उसके सामने आज तक क्या क्या हुआ है वो पूरा रिपोर्ट भी रखा है। लेकिन
absolutely, and now also you can see on the screen how the evacuation process is also underway. We are learning that the report as far as this crucial case is concerned will be submitted soon. Thanks so much Nagendra for all the details. We'll definitely come back to you for more on this. Now shifting our focus, Union Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan today took out a Har Ghar Tiranga Yatra from Vidisha to Raisen, and Tiranga Yatra got a lot of public support. People joined this Yatra with tractors, cars and bikes, and during this Yatra Shivraj Singh Chauhan had an exclusive conversation with Republic TV. Listen in to what he said.
आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनाना है, विकसित भारत बनाना है, इसलिए स्वदेशी को अपनाना है। हमारे देश में बना हुआ सामान, हमारी बहनें सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप की सामान बनाती है, हमारी एमएसएमई सामान बनाते हैं, हमारे किसान खेतों में उत्पादन करते हैं। 144 करोड़ भारतीय हमारे देश में बना हुआ सामान ही खरीदें, यही स्वदेशी संकल्प है। स्वदेशी के बिना स्वतंत्रता अधूरी है और इसलिए स्वदेशी मार्च भी निकल रहा है।
अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मुद्दों की बात करें तो अमेरिका एक तरफ पाकिस्तान से डील कर रहा है, व्यापारिक डील, और इंडिया पर टैरिफ बढ़ा रहा है। ये किस तरह की नीति है, इस पर क्या कहेंगे?
भारत किसी दबाव में नहीं आएगा। हम दुनिया के किसी देश से भी कोई भी समझौता हमारे राष्ट्रीय हितों को सर्वोपरि रखते हुए करेंगे। राष्ट्रीय हित सर्वोपरि, किसानों के हितों के साथ कोई समझौता नहीं होगा। हमारे गरीब, हमारे मछुआरे, पशुपालकों के हितों के साथ कोई समझौता नहीं होगा, उनके हित सुरक्षित रहेंगे।
ठीक है, लेकिन पाकिस्तान लगातार धमकियां दे रहा है। वो कह रहा है कि सिंधु समझौता जो हुआ, पाकिस्तान की एक बूंद भी अगर पानी रोका तो वो करारा जवाब देंगे। एटॉमिक धमकी भी वो लगातार पाकिस्तान देता आ रहा है।
सिंधु का पानी हमारा है। कांग्रेस ने, नेहरू जी ने ऐतिहासिक गलती की थी। हमारी सिंधु और झेलम चिनाव जैसी नदियों का पानी, 80% पानी पाकिस्तान को दे दिया और नहर बनाने के लिए भी पैसे वहां दिए। ये देश के हितों को गिरवी रखा गया। सिंधु समझौता रद्द। सिंधु का पानी हमारा है, वो भारत के किसानों के सूखे खेतों की प्यास बुझाएगा। मुद्दा सिंधु का पानी नहीं है, मुद्दा तो पाक ऑक्युपाइड कश्मीर है।
अच्छा सर, एक बात लगातार अभी संसद में गूंज रही है, राहुल गांधी जो है वोट चोरी का आरोप लगा रहे हैं, एसआईआर को लेकर मुद्दा बना रहे हैं, जिस वजह से संसद भी नहीं चल पा रही है।
And with this, we're taking a very short break. Coming up on the other side, we'll give you details about the hearing that is scheduled in the Supreme Court tomorrow. The issue of restoration of statehood of Jammu and Kashmir. We'll get you more details about this on the other side. Stay with us.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला। MDH।
Ну, а чого ж тих два не пок...
The current American president, he's traveled a very long and difficult path. There were hardships along the way, on his way to the White House.
Ми захищаємо населення, щоб шахеди не залетіли нікому ні в хату, нічого від людей. Зараз на даний час дуже важко, тому що їх побільшало.
Були сьогодні доповіді наших військових, фронт, особливо Добропілля, Покровський напрям. Зроблені там кроки, щоб виправити ситуацію. Я вдячний кожному підрозділу, кожному нашому воїну, які зараз знищують окупант. Позиції на Харківщині, позиції на Запоріжжі, позиції на Сумщині, всюди стараємось забезпечити Україні саме такий захист.
Hi guys, just wanted to tell you that Republic Media Sports R4 Sports is not just about sport. It's about heart, discipline and untold dreams. Stories that need national stage. And I fully support this initiative and invite you all to be a part of this. So stay tuned for R4 Sports and let's cheer together.
MDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल, ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े, क्या निराला MDH मसाला।
In the contested waters of the South China Sea, a dramatic and deeply embarrassing incident unfolded involving Chinese and Philippine vessels. The Chinese Coast Guard vessel CCG-3104, originally a repurposed PLA Navy 056 class corvette, collided with the PLA Navy's guided missile destroyer Guilin during a high-speed maneuver intended to block Philippine Coast Guard.
This is Republic Jack Olival Studio. Stay tuned for all the live and breaking news updates. I'm Deepak Suresh Kumar. Let's get started.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार, विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
Ну, а чо ж тих два не пок...
The current American president, he's traveled a very long and difficult path. There were hardships along the way on his way to the White House.
Ми захищаємо населення, щоб шахеди не злетіли нікому ні в хату, нічого від людей. Зараз на даний час дуже важко, тому що їх побільшало.
Були сьогодні доповіді наших військових, фронт, особливо Добропілля, Покровський напрямок. Зроблені там кроки, щоб виправити ситуацію. Я вдячний кожному підрозділу, кожному нашому воїну, які зараз знищують окупант. Позиції на Харківщині, позиції на Запоріжжі, позиції на Сумщині. Всюди ми стараємось забезпечити Україні саме такий захист.
I was a little bothered by the fact that Zelensky was saying, well, I have to get constitutional approval. I mean, he's got approval to go into war and kill everybody, but he needs approval to do a land swap, because there'll be some land swapping going on. I know that through Russia and through conversations with everybody, to the good, for the good of Ukraine. Good stuff, not bad stuff. Also, some bad stuff for both. So there's good and there's bad. There'll be some swapping, there'll be some changes in land, and the word that they will use is, they make changes. We're going to change the lines, the battle lines. Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine.
Стосується перемовин, в будь-якому випадку вони важливі на рівні лідерів. Але говорити про Україну без України неможливо, і ніхто це не прийме. Тому розмова президента Сполучених Штатів і Путіна, безумовно, може бути важливою для їх двостороннього треку, але нічого про Україну без нас вони прийняти не можуть.
Pakistan's de facto military super commander, Asim Munir, made some serious threats against India and the world. On his second trip to the US in as many months, Munir was quoted saying, "We are a nuclear nation. If we think we are going down, we'll take half the world down with us." In hindsight, it is important for the world to have a greater understanding of Pakistan's nuclear capabilities. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, 2025 yearbook, as of January, Pakistan's nuclear weapons armory was estimated to be somewhere around 170 nuclear warheads, a figure unchanged from the previous year. The country has continued developing a nuclear triad comprising aircraft capable of delivering nuclear gravity bombs, ground-launched ballistic and cruise missiles, and sea-launched cruise missiles, SLCMs intended for submarine deployment. The SIPRI report states that Pakistan is developing multiple new delivery systems, suggesting that its arsenal could expand in the next decade. Pakistan's Shaheen 3 is considered its most advanced ballistic missile. Shaheen boasts a range of 2,750 kilometers. This capability allows it to strike targets across the entirety of India if used in such a scenario.
Good evening, viewers. You're watching the latest edition of 6 Stories at 6 with me, Rakshita Mishra. And this evening, we are starting with the focus on the fresh turn to the Pune Porsche case. The Pune police have moved the Sessions Court to challenge the Juvenile Justice Board's decision to try the accused as the minor, the killer brat as the minor. Next, the clarion call of no cricket with Pakistan continues to grow. Not just this, we're also going to tell you about the controversy surrounding the KBC episode that features Colonel Sophia Qureshi, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, who are appearing in this episode, the Op Sindoor faces from the state of Odisha. Next, we have the threat around Jagannath Puri, the terror graffiti on the wall, the investigation around that. We will get you a lowdown of that. Story number 5 is going to be on the aftermath of the floods and landslides in Uttarkashi. Dharali still grapples with a trail of devastation. And finally, the targeting of Hindu temples continues. Once again, BAP Swaminarayan Temple has come under target. We'll tell you more about it. First, we start with the Pune Porsche case. The Pune police, viewers, have moved the Sessions Court to challenge the Juvenile Justice Board's decision to deny their request to prosecute the 17-year-old accused in the fatal Porsche crash case as an adult. The accused, the son of a prominent real estate developer, allegedly drove the luxury car under the influence of alcohol in Pune's Kalyani Nagar area, killing 2 motorcycle-borne IT professionals, Anish Avadia and Ashwini Costa, in May last year. This incident, of course, had sparked nationwide outrage. But what action has been taken? Till date, the one who was behind the wheels, the underage driver, and he was intoxicated. He's being tried as a minor. That's what the JJB has said a few weeks ago. Now, we have Suresh Kumar Costa, victim Ashwini's father, joining us on the broadcast. We have Ashwini Costa's father joining us. Thank you so much, Mr. Suresh Kumar Costa. अब ये नया डेवलपमेंट आया है, ये लड़ाई जो है बहुत लंबी चलती आई है आपकी, और हम सब भी पूरी कोशिश करते हैं कि इस कैंपेन में आपका साथ दें. अब जो है पुलिस ने भी जुवेनाइल जस्टिस बोर्ड के ख़िलाफ़ ये जो है इसको काउंटर किया है कि इसको जुवेनाइल की तरह एक नाबालिग के तौर पे इनको ट्रायल में ना लाया जाए. आप इस पर क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
इससे तो क्या है, जुवेनाइल जस्टिस बोर्ड के जो ऑर्डर जो रहे हैं वो शुरू से ही क्या बोलने चाहिए, सही नहीं रहे, डिस्प्यूट ही रहा, उनमें कुछ ना कुछ रहा है. एक्सीडेंट जब हुआ था 18 घंटे में ही उसको जुवेनाइल को जमानत दे दी गई, और उसके बाद ये कि उसको एडल्ट ट्रीट नहीं करेंगे. जो उनके जो वकील हैं, मतलब एक्यूज के जो वकील हैं, उनने ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट के किसी उसका रेफरेंस दिया है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ये बोला है. बट सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो डिसीजन दिया है उस केस में और हमारे केस में बहुत, या बोलने चाहिए जमीन आसमान का अंतर है. उसकी क्लिप भी मैंने देखी है. वो क्या है, शिल्पा मित्तल वर्सेस न्यू दिल्ली का है वो केस. उसका रेफरेंस सुप्रीम कोर्ट का दिया है जेजेबी को. तो उसके केस में उसकी क्लिप भी मैंने देखी है. उसकी क्लिप में क्या है, सिंपल एक्सीडेंट दिख रहा है वो, जबकि हमारा केस ऐसा नहीं है. हमारे केस में क्या है, माइनर है, गाड़ी चला रहा है, पहली गलती, पब में जाके शराब पी रहा है, दूसरी गलती, रफ ड्राइविंग कर रहा है, तीसरी गलती, चौथी गलती, दो मर्डर कर रहा है. दो मर्डर करने के बाद भी जेजेबी के जो ऑनरेबल मेंबर्स जो है उनको ये बात समझ में नहीं आ रही कि उस केस में और इस केस में जमीन आसमान का अंतर है. तो वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का वो आदेश यहाँ पर लागू ही नहीं होता है. उसके बाद भी उनने उसको बोल दिया कि उसको एडल्ट ट्रीट नहीं करेंगे. भाई फैक्ट देखिए ना, फैक्ट क्या है
जी.
फैक्ट तो ये है कि वो सिंपल केस है, और ये जो है ना, ये बोलने चाहिए जानबूझ के किया गया मर्डर है ये
जी.
उसके माँ बाप को पता था, दुनिया को पता है, आपको भी पता है, सबको पता है, मुझको भी पता है कि मैं माइनर हूं और मैं गाड़ी चलाऊंगा. मेरे माँ बाप मना करेंगे तो भी मैं जिद करूंगा, मैं गाड़ी चलाऊंगा. दारू पी के दो लोगों को मारूंगा तो एक्सीडेंट होगा, कितने लोग मर जाएंगे, कोई ठिकाना नहीं.
जी जी.
उसके बाद भी जेजेबी के मेंबर्स को ये बात समझ में क्यों नहीं आती?
जी. 1 साल हो गया. अनीश अवादिया जी के भी हमारे अंकल जो हैं वो हमारे साथ में अभी जुड़े हुए हैं हमारे साथ. अखिलेश कुमार अवादिया जी, आप 1 साल से ये लड़ाई लड़ रहे हैं, 1 साल से ज़्यादा हो गया है. फास्ट ट्रैकिंग की भी बात की गई थी इस केस की, उस फ्रंट पे भी कुछ खास डेवलपमेंट हुई नहीं है सर. आज जब पुलिस ये काउंटर करती है जेजेबी को, क्या कितनी उम्मीद है आपको?
ऐसे अब मैं पुणे पुलिस को तो मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहूंगा कि उन्हें अपनी कार्रवाई जो है प्राय पूरा समय पर ही पूरी कार्रवाई उन्होंने कर ली, और वो 900 पेज की जो चालान जो है ना वो सेशन कोर्ट में पुटअप कर दिया है. बट ये न्यायपालिका का ही ढीलापन है. ये मैं तो स्पष्ट बोलूंगा, न्यायपालिका का ही ढीलापन है, जिसमें मतलब जो केस इतना हाईलाइट हुआ उसके ऊपर भी किसी ने सुओ मोटो भी नहीं लगाई. सुप्रीम कोर्ट को तो चाहिए था कि इस पर इतना, जब देश में बवाल हो रहा था तो सुओ मोटो इस पर 1-2 लोगों को नोटिस तो जारी करता था कम से कम.
जी सर. कोस्टा जी हमारे बने रहिए. अखिलेश कुमार अवादिया भी हमारे साथ हैं, अनीश अवादिया के अंकल. सर, आप क्या कहेंगे इस डेवलपमेंट पे, जो कि 1 साल से ज़्यादा हो गया है और लड़ाई आप लोगों की अभी भी जारी है, और अभी तक कुछ भी सज़ा जो है वो जो मिलनी चाहिए आप लोगों के, जो हम देख रहे हैं किस तरह से एक एग्जाम्पल सेट करना चाहिए, वो अभी तक हुआ नहीं है?
देखिए मैडम, ये जो माइनर और एडल्ट का झगड़ा,
There seems to be a problem with the connection. I think we lost the connection, Mr. Avadia, but that was the fight we was continues. Mr. Suresh Kumar Costa, बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे जुड़ने के लिए, and we continue to closely track this story on Republic TV. We was shifting our focus to Republic TV's extensive coverage. No cricket with Pakistan campaign that's gaining momentum now with former Indian cricketer Harbhajan Singh also joining the chorus to boycott the September 14 T20 Asia Cup match against Pakistan in the United Arab Emirates. Harbhajan Singh, who was part of the Indian team that withdrew from the 2 fixtures against Pakistan in the World Championship of Legends that was happening in United Kingdom, remember, he said that cricket should remain secondary until India's larger issues with Pakistan are resolved, and that his remarks, of course, come amid Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's open threat to India. Threats continue, but in India, of course, we need such more voices that have to be raised so as to boycott, blanket boycott on Pakistan. Asad University of the AIMI has also spoken on the India-Pakistan match. Listen in.
मैं तो क्रिकेट मैच नहीं देखने वाला हूं, मैं तो हरगिज नहीं देखने वाला हूं। मेरा ज़मीर, मेरा दिल गवारा नहीं करता कि मैं बैठकर उस मुल्क के लोगों से साथ हम क्रिकेट मैच खेलें जो हर रोज धमकी दे रहे हैं। उनका चीफ ऑफ आर्मी जाके वहां से बोलता है कि हम लोग डैम पे मार देंगे, वो बोलता है कि हम न्यूक्लियर थ्रेट कोई दे रहा है, कोई एक बोल रहा है कि हम वो कर देंगे। अब क्या क्यों खेलेंगे हम? ये सुनिए, एक मिनट सुनिए। आप पानी देना बंद कर दिए, पानी से बड़ी कोई चीज हो सकती, क्या बोलिए? आप ट्रेड नहीं कर रहे हैं, आप वाघा बॉर्डर बंद कर दिए, वीजा नहीं दे रहे, खेल क्यों रहे हैं बताइए? कितना नुकसान होगा? 300 करोड़, 400 करोड़, कुछ भी नहीं है ना। मेरा जमीर तो गवारा नहीं करता भाई कि मैं मैच को देखूं।
We have author Ratan Sharda. All right, we will continue to get more voices on that story. Meanwhile, shift our focus to the controversy surrounding the KBC show, the episode that's coming up. Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, who fronted the media briefings during Operation Sindoor, will appear on a special Independence Day edition of Kaun Banega Crorepati, hosted by Amitabh Bachchan. Now, this episode has drawn criticism from social media users who allege the armed forces are being used for PR, for publicity, and for political gains. Now, there's a lot of talk about why the same channels, the network channel, the sister channels of that of that particular channel will be also hosting. They host India-Pakistan matches as well. So there's a lot of backlash. I have author Ratan Sharda with me on the show for more on this. Mr. Sharda, there is backlash. Of course, we all love our forces, our women in uniform, and they are the pride of the nation. And while at one point, we do appreciate that, when they speak to the nation on popular shows, more people hear them. But there is a sentiment that they are being used. How do you see this, sir?
You believe that KBC is run by the government? First question. Secondly, I am appalled by these kind of talks. The environment till Modi ji came to power is that military, the forces are never looked upon with respect, were never saluted, were never celebrated. After Modi ji came to power, they are celebrated. They are getting basic amenities, the very basic gears which are not available during the Congress time, neither the infrastructure. So there is a change in the environment as far as forces are concerned. And I'm not surprised, I'm appalled, but not surprised, because there's the same group of people who stopped the pension of Field Marshal Manekshaw after the 1971 huge victory.
Yes.
And he was the hero of that victory. So his pension was stopped till Abdul Kalam Azad finally realized in 2004 or somewhere, when his pension was restored after nearly 30 years. We had OROP, the pension scheme, that was a reward given to army after they won the 1971 war. And to restore that particular pension scheme, it took a Modi to come back to power and give it back to what belonged to the forces. It was no favor. It was the duty of our nation to keep, respect our forces for the sacrifice they do. So these people, and also I'll remember in 1971 again, when the 93,000 prisoners of war were released unconditionally, nothing was gained out of that particular scheme. And what even 54 prisoners of war of Indian army were not searched, they were not demanded. So the people who don't care for the security forces, they will crib about giving them importance. There are communist leaders who came on TV panels and said that वो तनख्वाह लेते हैं वो मर जाएंगे तो क्या होगा? These kind of talks of these people who consider they find no difference between mercenary and a patriot who dies for the country and without worrying about his life or family. For if they get a a few minutes of celebration from the people at large. Why are these people burned up? I simply do not understand creating controversy of everything. Everything they will create controversy. So that is really sad. And I said the way they have not respected forces, I'm not surprised, but people should be really shocked and they should react very sharply to this kind of totally unwarranted controversies created by these forces.
Absolutely. I mean, Congress doesn't have problem when Pakistani actors and artists, they come in and they appear on shows and movies, but they certainly have a problem with the forces and our, brave women of the country in uniform when they appear on a show. Thank you so much, Mr. Ratan Shah, for joining us on Public TV. Now, viewers, there's the terror threat in Puri. Authorities in Puri, Odisha, have launched a detailed probe after a graffiti warning of a potential terror attack on Jagannath Temple. Was discovered this morning. Now, police have detained a suspect described as mentally unstable. The threatening messages written in Oriya were found on the walls of Buddhima Thakurani Temple near the Balishahi entrance of the Parikrama Marg, a high security zone around the Sri Mandir. The graffiti spotted in 2 locations mentioned Prime Minister Narendra Modi and included statements that are, of course, threatening to destroy the temple, along with phone numbers and call instructions as well. Locals also reported the vandalism of decorative lights in the area. Madhusudan joins us live on the broadcast from Puri. Madhusudan, tell us more. What are you picking up? What has the latest investigation revealed in the matter?
देखिए, मैं अभी ठीक है दक्षिण द्वार जहां पे जो इंसिडेंट लिखा गया था, सेंसिटिव इंसिडेंट लिखा गया था, इसके सामने खड़ा हूं और अभी जो लिखा गया था, जो रघुनाथ साहू जो मेंटल इल पर्सन लिखा था, जो आतंकवादी उड़ा देंगे मंदिर को, जगन्नाथ मंदिर को, वो जो लिखा गया था उसको मिटा दिया गया है। क्योंकि ज्यादातर लोग आते हैं, वो लोग पढ़ेंगे तो उनके मन में कुछ मंदिर के बारे में जो लिखा गया है जो आतंकित हो जाएंगे। उस हिसाब से पुलिस ने पूरा जो लिखा गया था उसको मिटा दिया गया है और पुलिस इसको सेंसिटिव इश्यू को लेके रघुनाथ साहू को बालीशाही जो यहाँ से नजदीक है वहीं से पकड़ा था और पकड़ने के बाद उसको इंटरोगेशन किया और इंटरोगेशन करने के बाद जो मेंटल जो उसका जो इलनेस था तो उसको जो मेंटल ट्रीटमेंट वगैरह भी करने के बाद फाइनली कंक्लूजन में पहुंचा कि मेंटल इलनेस की वजह से ये रघुनाथ साहू ने ये दरवाजा जो मंदिर के जो वॉल में कुछ लिखा है और उस हिसाब से अंडरटेकिंग लिखने के बाद उसका जो परिवार था उसको परिवार को हैंडेड ओवर कर दिया गया है। और सबसे बड़ी बात है सिक्योरिटी लैप्सेस। और मैं जहां पे खड़ा हूं ये मंदिर का पूरा कॉरिडोर है और कॉरिडोर में आप देख रहे हैं कितना सीसीटीवी लगा हुआ है। ये जितना जो मंदिर कॉरिडोर बन रहा था सीसीटीवी करोड़ों रुपया में सीसीटीवी लगाया गया है मगर ये सीसीटीवी अभी तक काम नहीं कर रहा है। उस वजह से यहाँ पे जो सिक्योरिटी होना चाहिए, सिक्योरिटी जितना स्ट्रांग होना चाहिए, यहाँ पे सिक्योरिटी सही ढंग से स्ट्रांग नहीं हो पा रहा है। और सबसे बड़ी बात है जो मंदिर के चारों तरफ जो वॉल माने ये पुलिस जहाँ पे रह के ड्यूटी करना चाहिए जो वॉल होना चाहिए वो सही ढंग से नहीं हो पाया है। और सबसे बड़ी बात है जो स्कैनर मंदिर के सामने जो स्कैनर और मेटल डिटेक्टर ये सही ढंग से काम नहीं कर रहा है। तो यहाँ पे जो सिक्योरिटी लैप्सेस हो रहा है, पेट्रोलिंग में रात में भी ज्यादातर पेट्रोलिंग नहीं हो रहा है। उस वजह से ही ये जो रघुनाथ साहू मेंटल इलनेस पर्सन ये लिखा है। सबसे बड़ी बात है ये एक जगह पे लिखा नहीं है, तो मंदिर का जो ईस्ट गेट के सामने जो एक दोड़ो मंडप शाही है वहीं पे भी वहां पे भी एक वॉल में भी इस तरह से लिखा है। और बड़ी बात है ये जमशेदपुर में एक चाय दुकान कर रहा था और बाद में जब पुरी आ गया, पुरी आने के बाद नशा सेवन किया और नशा सेवन करने के बाद उसको निशा निवारण केंद्र में उसको ट्रीटमेंट चल रहा था, वहां से वो फरार होके पुरी आया था। करीब 3-4 महीना हो गया पुरी आया था, रथ यात्रा की वक्त में भी पुरी में था।
अच्छा।
और वहां पे भी कुछ लिखा था। मगर रथ यात्रा में भीड़ की वजह से,
ठीक है, अच्छा,
रथ यात्रा में भीड़ की वजह से ये सही ढंग से नहीं आ पाया। और बाद में जब रात में ये लिखा था, कुछ लोग यहाँ पे उसको देखे थे और उनको इंफॉर्मेशन की तरफ से पुलिस ने चारों तरफ जाके उनको वो रघुनाथ
बहुत अहम जानकारी, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल मधुसूदन, बहुत अहम जानकारी है। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे जुड़ने के लिए। Of course, viewers, there you have our reporter on ground is highlighting the security lapses on ground. There, it of course is a matter of investigation now. Shifting focus to Uttarkashi, viewers, Dharali is still grappling with the trail of devastation after the flash floods. A mountain paradise turned into a trail of just ruins. Rescue teams still battling boulders and mud in a race to salvage what little remains of Dharali. Watch these ground reports.
यहाँ के देखिए जो स्थानीय पुलिस अधिकारी हैं जो यहाँ पर पूरी टीम को लीड कर रहे हैं, यहाँ पर राहत सेवा शिविर के जरिए लोगों तक मदद पहुँचा रहे हैं। सुनील जी ने बात बताई कि इसके ऊपर जो है नीचे शिवालिक होटल था, एक लड़की भी इसके नीचे दफन हो सकती है, जिसको अब मलबे को जब हटाया जाएगा तो वो निकल सकती है। अब ऐसे में देखिए लगातार मौसम की मार लोगों पर पड़ती हुई दिखाई दे रही है। बस इतनी जानकारी सुनील जी, क्या यहाँ कोई शिवालिक होटल था?
हाँ, यहाँ पे शिवालिक होटल था यहाँ पे ना,
वो पूरा इस मलबे के नीचे
दबा है अभी।
और एक बच्ची भी उसके नीचे हो सकती है।
हाँ, कृतिका जैन एक लड़की थी, यात्री एक हो सकती है, मतलब उसके नीचे। हाँ,
तो देखिए जैसा कि हमने जिक्र किया, इन्होंने पूरी जानकारी दी, 3 मंजिला शिवालिक होटल ही है। तो इस पूरी त्रासदी में 3 से 4 मंजिला होटल इसके नीचे दबे हुए हैं। ये पूरा इलाका देखिए बहुत सुंदर हुआ करता था। हमने आपको बताया कि 80 एकड़ में पूरा देखिए फैला हुआ है जहाँ पर ये त्रासदी आई। ये पूरा जोन मैं आपको दिखा रहा हूँ। ऐसे में अब जो है इस मलबे को हटाना एक बड़ी चुनौती इसलिए बन गई है क्योंकि लगातार देखिए बढ़ता जलस्तर एक परेशानी यहाँ पर खड़ी कर रहा है। बुलडोजर की मदद से, इन बड़ी बड़ी मशीनों की मदद से देखिए मलबा हटाया तो जा रहा है, लेकिन ये सारी मशीनें यहाँ पर नाकाफी साबित हो रही हैं।
इस गांव के जो हमारे साथी थे, हमारे छोटे भाई थे, वो करीबन यहाँ से 8 या 9 लोग यहाँ जो इस मलबे के नीचे दबे हैं। और जो अगर कैजुअलिटी की बात करें तो 80 से 100 लोगों की कैजुअलिटी हुई है, जिनको हम जानते हैं। हो सकता है ज़्यादा भी हो सकते हैं जिनको हम जानते नहीं है, कुछ टूरिस्ट लोग थे, पर जो हमारे सामने जिनको हम जानते हैं वो 80 से 100 लोग के लगभग होगी सर।
All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of 6 Stories at 6. But before that, we'll tell you one more story that is about the temples being targeted in the West. This is about the Babs Swaminarayan Temple. Once again, this is a US temple, a temple in US. This is the Greenwood Maps Mandir that was defaced with anti-India, anti-Modi graffiti, allegedly by pro-Khalistani elements and extremists. The incident condemned as a hate crime by advocacy groups. Indian consulate in Chicago has strongly denounced the act and urged the local law enforcement to act promptly. With that, it's a wrap on this edition. Thanks for watching.
Amity is proud to announce the commencement of its 12th university in India, Amity University, Hyderabad. At the prime location of AeroCity Hyderabad Airport, has a strong focus on high-end research with brilliant students and distinguished faculty who share our mission to change the world together. To apply for this year's session, visit amity.edu/Hyderabad.
Sarah, this is your space, slay it your way. आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला।